'cause I'm a wheelborn baby. Always burn down the road. Yeah, I'm a wheelborn baby. Always burning down the road. I'm a wheelborn baby. This life never gets old. Come on, wheel burners, yeah, burn with me. Come on, wheel burners, yeah, burn with me. Oh, take a ride now on Wheelburner Express. Yeah, Wheelburner Express, baby.
Oh, what's going on, 2-4? 23 there today. It's -2 here right now in Strathmore. -2 Celsius. I think we're going to go up to, I think we're supposed to go up to 8 or 9 today, maybe if we're lucky. If we're lucky, 8 or 9 degrees today. We're supposed to have snow. We're supposed to get some rain to well, for the weekend. We're supposed to have rain for Saturday. And then we're supposed to have it's supposed to turn to snow overnight. Saturday night, we're supposed to get snow Sunday. Excuse me. There's that smoker's wheeze. My God, it's killing me. It's killing me. Nasty, good to see you from Russia. Thanks for popping in. Appreciate that. Yes, I am the world's greatest daughter. I am. Okay. In case anybody's wondering. This is what happens when you forget to turn the dishwasher on last night and you go to get your coffee cup this morning and this is your only option. So there you go. I'm the world's greatest daughter today. Who knew? I didn't even know I had it in me to be a daughter. There we go. The silly questions have already started. Palestine or Israel? Who cares? I'm Canadian. See that right there? That's a maple leaf. That's Canadian. We're proud to be Canadian. And Palestine or Israel, if you're Palestinian or you're Israeli, that's entirely up to you. You choose what you want to do, where you want to live, how you want to live, what your religion is, who you want to fight. Leave me the hell out of it. I think we over here in Canada, I think we need to do a little more minding of our own business. And you know what? I think we could probably say the same thing for the Americans. Mind our own business. If my country and the leaders of my country, the esteemed, I can't even say that without laughing, the esteemed leaders of my country, if they could, if they were more willing to take care of their own country and take care of their own people and spend all that money that we gave away or we're giving away currently to other countries, Ukraine, Palestine, Israel, whoever else we're giving. Fuck it. The list is so ridiculously long now. Even as Canadian citizens and taxpayers, honestly, we don't even know where the money's going. It just goes. But I think if the government or the leaders or the people of power decided, you know what, let's spend the money on our own country and take care of our own people and take care of our own seniors, our veterans, our roads, our education, our medical system. I think if they were willing to do that, we'd be much better off as a country. And then whatever money's left over, if there's any left over whatsoever, then you go help somebody else. But giving away 9, 10, 15, 20 billion dollars with no ROI on it, well, why would you why would you do that? Well, that's a question none of us can answer. At least I can't. I'm not in a position. I can't answer that question. I certainly can't. I don't know the answer to why our government does that. Somebody out there, there's got to be somebody there's got to be one of you smart bastards out there in the chat that knows why they do it. Can I lay an egg? Not today, man. Where are you from? I'm Canadian. I'm from Strathmore, Alberta, which is a western province. We don't have states in Canada. We have provinces. So I'm from a western province. I'm from the second last western province in Canada. The next province next to me, going farther west, would be British Columbia, and then you drop yourself into the ocean. So I'm out west. If you're an American and you don't know where Alberta is, my province borders with your state of Montana. 3 hours south of where I am right now is Montana. So, and sorry, again, this happens every damn morning. My fingertips are freezing. I was outside. It's -2 right now, Celsius. So that's about 28 degrees Fahrenheit. And all I did was just take the dog for a walk. I was out there for about not even 30 minutes. And like, it's just enough. The body, I was dressed warm, had a jacket and everything like that. But try to have a cigarette or hold your phone. And that's the funny thing these days. I'm out there walking my dog, and I'm walking my dog leash, and he's on the grass doing his whatever, sniffing and walking and pooping and everything like that. And I'm sitting there, and this is how dependent and how just easily distracted we are. I'm looking at my phone, watching. I was watching Motobomb, but I was on the phone watching Motobomb while walking my dog, and I look up. And there's a woman on the other side of the street walking her dog, and she's got her phone out. And then everybody I saw, like pretty much everybody I saw this morning, there was 3 people walking their dogs. It's a pretty popular street, and they're all got their phones out. Everybody's got their phone out. That's how easily distracted, and I guess you would almost say how dependent we are upon our technology and our phones, that we can't even take your dog for a walk without leaving your phone on the counter, because God forbid you miss a notification from YouTube or Instagram or TikTok or something like that. I wouldn't want to get back to my house and there'd be 5 messages there that I missed. I'm not worried about 2-4 texting me and missing the message. 2-4 knows if I don't answer, I'll get back to them. But God forbid I miss a YouTube notification. And I'm no different than anybody else. You know how many other people are out there right now doing the same thing? I bet you if we went right now, took the dog for a walk, grabbed the camera, and went for a walk, there's people out there walking their dogs. Or how many times do I see it now is the moms standing at the bus stop, and there's be like 8 or 9 kids standing at this bus stop, and say 3 or 4 moms standing there. And they don't even talk anymore. The moms don't even sit around and talk to each other and chat. There'll be 3 or 4 moms, and all 4 moms are standing there like this, looking, scrolling their phones. And okay, if you're a business person or a businesswoman, or even if it's a dad standing there and you're checking your email or whatever. But what did you do before you had a phone like that to do that? You had to wait till you got to the office. Nowadays, people are standing there. They're not even talking to each other at bus stops anymore. That's pretty sad. It's pretty sad when you can't communicate with people around you anymore because you're just glued to a device. And another example, and this is the worst example, and this used to drive me absolutely batshit crazy. Absolutely batshit crazy. Is I'd be in my house on the weekend. I'd be off the road. I'd be in the house, and all the kids be in the house, and each of them would be in their respective rooms or whatever end of the house, or maybe want to be out in the backyard or sitting on the deck by the pool, or want to be in whatever, right? There was, at any given time, there was 4 to 5 kids of my kids living with us. And if you wanted to talk to one of them, you know what? You don't go to the other end of the house, or you wouldn't go from, one bedroom here and their next bedroom is 6 feet away. They don't even talk they text each other. all the kids are texting each other from room to room to room. You don't hear, you could go 12 hours in my house, and if I didn't say anything, you wouldn't hear a goddamn peep. You might hear a toilet flush. That is about it. That is about it. Luckily, thankfully, now all the kids have grown up and they've all left home, and it's just me and Victoria and the dog and the cat, and we've yet to give a phone or a tablet or a device to the dog and the cat, because we know that's what's going to happen. The dog and the cat, dog will be sitting in that room, the cat will be sitting in this room, and they'll be texting each other, and we'll never hear from them. So we just don't do that. Rum Skunky, man, good to see you, brother. Welcome back. Thanks for coming back day after day. You must be prone to wanting brain damage, man. You really are. You keep coming back here. You enjoying the brain damage? Well, if you are, stick around. We got a whole lot more for you. Yeah, sick lad. Where are you from, man? Like I just said, I'm Strathmore, Alberta. I'm Canadian. Hello from Finland. I'm assuming that's what you're saying there, Sigmund. There's Sigma. Hello from Finland. Thanks for popping in from Finland. 2-4, my buddy just swapped a C13 out of an 08 Sterling and installed an 016NZ. Truck is working great. Excuse me. Yeah, I would imagine so. An 08 C13 probably had the beginnings of the emissions. I think the 08s would have probably had, it wouldn't have had DEF, but it probably would have had an EGR valve, EGR cooler, and probably DEF filters, or DEF filters, DPF filters. Sorry. So yeah, if he's pulled that C13 out and he's running a 6N, for all of the cats, the 6NZ is my favorite. It really is. It is an old school mechanical engine, no bells and whistles, just raw torque and horsepower, and it's great. And they're easy to work on. Parts were readily available. You didn't have to run them in unless you were doing a rebuild or something like that. You didn't have to run them into the shop. You could do most of the work on it because it was all right there, and it was really simple. Same as the N14s and the early model, even the later models, later model Detroits. You know, the 60 series Detroits, the 12.7 and the 14. So yeah, if he's got that 6NZ in there, what's he hauling with it, dude? You're gonna put a 6NZ into a is that the truck you sent me the picture of? Is that the dump, or is that something else? Ship breaking, good to see you. How you doing? Oh, excuse me, Amir. How old am I? I don't know. I've said it 100,000 times. How old I am? How old do you think I am, Amir? How old do you think I am? Rum Skunky says he's going to stick around. Well, man, we appreciate that. I really do. I'm only out here doing this for shits and giggles. This is not my job. I just, I go live. Usually I'll break out with a topic or maybe two, and then after we've exhausted that topic, then we just bounce off the comments. And I like to see what you guys are doing. I like to see what you guys are thinking, what you guys are talking about. You ever had the makings of a varsity athlete? Well, by looking at me right now, I'd say probably no. I'm not in varsity shape right now, but by the time I finished high school, I was in pretty good physical condition, but mentally, I was a wreck. Mentally, spiritually, and emotionally, I was a disaster. By the time I finished high school, so physically, yeah, I probably could have been a varsity athlete. And all the years you were driving, what was the scariest moment you ever had, if you don't mind sharing, George? There's a lot, and it's hard to it for me, honestly. It's there's been a couple of times where you're coming into certain situations and you hit patches of black ice, your trailer goes out, this moves, the truck zigzags, like shit like that. It is scary. But the scariest moment, I don't know. When I think of scary moments, my brain goes to some of the horrific things I've seen, not necessarily been involved with, but some of the most horrific things I've seen. Things that you see that you can never, ever, ever get back. You can't unsee them once you see them. And I think that there's been two. There's been two that were absolutely horrific, but the worst one that I saw, I was 79 southbound in Pennsylvania, and I wasn't that far off the 90. I came off the 90. I'm going south. I was maybe about 15 minutes, so 15 or maybe 20 miles south, and traffic was backing up. There was an accident, and it was bad. And they had us routed. They had one lane closed, and they were trying to get traffic through, and this and that. And as I was going through, like the life flight chopper had taken off, you know, we saw it. I could see it from where I was, had taken off, and there was ambulances and why this happened, I don't know why, because it should have never been seen. This scene should have never happened. But as I was rolling through the accident scene in my lane, the other lane was closed, the shoulder and all that kind of shit. There was a small car, and to this day, I couldn't tell you what the make and model of the car. It was absolutely destroyed. And on the ground, there was, you know, obviously when there's a body or a dead body, they cover it, right? They cover it with the white sheet. And they weren't necessarily white. They were kind of like a grayish, whatever. Let's just say, oh, it's a white sheet, and they were covered by a sheet. And, you know, so there was a one white sheet, and then over here, there was another white sheet. And then over here, there was another white sheet. And you could tell, excuse me, you could tell by the size of the sheet that the one white sheet was an adult and the two were kids. And that's just heartbreaking. And you can't unsee that, George. You cannot unsee it. It doesn't matter what you put in your body to induce or make you forget. You can't drink that away. You can't toke that away. You can't anesthetize yourself away once you've seen something like that. That's probably the most heartbreaking thing I've ever seen, where, you know, you're looking at that and you know that there's two children underneath those sheets and they're dead. quite possibly, you know, maybe the mother or the father. I don't know. Scary moment. Just brought back to another thought was, I can't remember exactly where I was, but I was on the highway. I was in the right lane, had my cruise control set, probably doing 60, 65, whatever miles an hour, whatever the speed limit was. And this lady came down the ramp, and instead of staying in the merging lane and accelerating, right, and getting up to speed and then merging over once you're up to speed, because it's not our job on the highway to get out of your way. We do it out of courtesy, right? We move when there's traffic coming down the ramps. We get out of the way, so we're not, you know, we're big and cumbersome, so we don't get in your way when you're trying to merge. But the idea is you're supposed to merge and run that ramp, that lane at the bottom of the ramp, as long as you can, to get yourself up to speed, to highway speed, so that you can safely merge in at speed. Well, this lady didn't. And I had the Volvo at that time. She came down the ramp and she didn't even look. Like, that's how close she was. She didn't check her rear view mirror, didn't check either of her mirrors. She just came down the ramp, put her signal on, and came out right in front of me. And the back of that Toyota Tercel, I could tell you with 100% clarity that I could tell in the backseat of that car were two kids. They were both on devices. One of them was watching a movie and one of them was playing a game. That's how close they were. And I literally had to lock that truck up to prevent myself from running up the back of her, down the front of her, and carrying on. And she did not see a goddamn thing. I smoked every wheel on that truck. I was heavy. I smoked every wheel on that truck, shit myself, sweating, literally. And she just carried on life as usual, not giving it a second thought, not even knowing that she came that close, like not that close, not that close. She came that close to killing not only herself, but her two children. And that there will wake you up pretty goddamn quick. It'll frighten you. It'll give you a quick jolt of holy shit. So yeah, I've had that happen, you know, not just once or twice. After, you know, throughout your career, you're going to get that happen often. Most accidents or most bad things that I've seen happen have usually been merging on and off ramps, construction zones. You know, I've seen a truck, you know, run the lane. The lane's closing because there's construction. We're going down to one lane. Truck driver is not paying attention. He's either drinking or grabbing a drink, or he's playing on his phone, or he can't read the signs, or whatever. Right through the construction zone, right through the pylons, hits the barricade, the Jersey barriers, bounces the truck. Thank goodness, most of the time it doesn't bounce the truck back out into traffic. It'll bounce. They try to arrange it so that it'll either bounce them into the ditch or into the. But there's been times where it's been right into the construction zone, and you're watching 25 construction workers or road workers just scatter, right? Because there's a 75-foot bomb barreling towards them. Seen shit like that. It's almost endless. The shit that you see, it's almost endless. Good morning, Quinn. Good to see you. Aesthetic Nora, there's your shout out. You're going live in 5 minutes. Hey, knock yourself out. Enjoy yourself. Have a good time. That's the good thing. That's the thing about going live. Everybody wants to go live and bring in big numbers, man. Most of the time I'm doing this. I'm just doing this for fun. I do have a plan of what I'm doing with this channel, but doing these lives every morning like this, I'm just out here having fun, talking to people. I see Quinn every morning. I see Rumskunky every morning. Freeway every day. These are the people I want to see, and we talk and we shoot the shit and hang out, and there we go. I had a 6NZ in my Western Star at Tombro. It was a blast. Now I drive a 2020 Western Star with a DD15. It's nowhere near as fun, but it's a comfortable truck. Well, yeah, the 6NZ, if you're pulling for Tombro, you're pulling heavy, right? Tombro is, if I recall, Quinn, I think Tombro, don't you guys pull preformed concrete cast shit like that for sewage and road and stuff like that? I think that's what, if I remember, I think that's what Tombro pulls. And so you guys are pulling probably quad axles, 5 axles, tri-axles, shit like that. So the 6NZ is the perfect engine for that. All torque, all horsepower, all engine. Now you got a DD15. Now you're letting the computer do the work, right? You can mash on the pedal of that DD15, and the computer's the one that's going to decide how much horsepower, how much pork you're going to get there. Hey, Quinn, how much pork do you get out of that DD15? It's how much torque you get out of that engine. So, Jesus, it's right there. It won't come up. I think I got it that time though. Sent you some pics of the truck. You did. I saw them come, but I'm gonna check them in a minute. I got to get away from while I'm doing this and looking when you guys text me stuff, because the other day, I was in the middle of saying something and I had a really good thought process going. Somebody sends me a text message. I look over just quickly, and as I'm talking, I'm looking over and reading and talking at the same time, and I just totally, absolutely went right off the rails and forgot what I was talking about, or got sidetracked. So if you guys are going to text me stuff, know that I'm not going to go look at it. I'm not going to read it. If I hear the ding, that's fine. But I'm just, I'm going to wait till after the live, because I just don't want to be distracted. 312 subs. There you go, Fraser. See, that's what happens. Stick around here long enough. Enough people are going to see you. You got 612 dubs. Subs. Good for you, man. Congratulations. Good for you. I'm happy for you. Oh. Bro doesn't want to see me in the morning. Dude, trust me, nobody is rougher getting out of bed than I am. Okay? Nobody is rougher getting out of bed than I am. I'm at the age now where I'm 55 years old, where I get out of bed. For example, it happened this morning. It doesn't happen every morning, but it happened this morning where I roll over, because I'll lay in the middle of the bed and I'll be cuddling her, right? So I'll roll away and I'm getting up, and she's got her hands on my back, and she's going just to get me into the sitting up position. And then usually I have to sit there on the side of the bed, Fraser Valley. I got to sit there on the side of the bed just for about a minute, right? And do the snap, pop, crack, pop, snap, crackle. I got to do that just to get some things moving, and then kind of my head realizes, okay, he's upright, then I can then I can grab a pair of shorts or whatever's laying on the floor and go downstairs and throw the coffee on. But you know, I'm not the easiest to get moving in the morning. Really, I'm not. Mine was in Detroit. 15-year-old jumped in between the truck and trailer, tried to pull the pin and fell under my tires. Took a long time to get over that. George, I'm going to be honest with you. In the years that I drove, I'm very fortunate. I never had or was involved in a fatality. I never was. I had a really good friend. He retired shortly after his accident, and then he ended up committing suicide because he could not get over it. And literally, what had happened to him is a car had gone over in front of him, no problem. Put a signal on, came over, and then went up the ramp. Right, so went up the ramp to go off. Got about a quarter way up the ramp, decided he didn't want that ramp, and back down the ramp into traffic. And Colin didn't have time to swerve, didn't have time to move. The truck he was able to miss, because when the guy backed out, he didn't just back down into the lane of the off ramp lane that you usually merge into before you go up the ramp. He came out and he swung his back end of his car right out into the right lane on the highway, and he missed him with the truck, but he was fully loaded. He had a fully loaded triaxle with Nestle water on it, so he was really heavy. The tires caught the car and just pancaked it, killed the guy instantly, absolutely destroyed the car. Now, Colin was found not at fault. Obviously, there was no charges laid to him. He was, there was enough witnesses and everything like that he was able to, carry on business as usual. He tried trucking for another couple of weeks. I don't even think he made it a month. And he sold his truck. He had a big old beautiful yellow, we used to call it the nuclear banana, and he ended up selling the truck, and he retired. And then shortly thereafter, I think about a year and a half later, he word got that he'd passed away, and then we found out that he had committed suicide, and that he couldn't get around the mental mind fuck of what had happened, that he had taken somebody's life like that. George, I don't know how you do it. My hat's off to you. Whatever you had to do to get your head wrapped around something like that. I've never been in that position, man. I consider myself fortunate. Don't get me wrong. I've seen fender benders, and I've never hit or damaged anything so per se with my truck. But I've been, in docks or whatever, and I've dinged a truck or dinged a trailer with, backing in or something like that. But that doesn't count. We're talking about to the scale that you're talking. I've never been involved in anything like that. Thank God I wasn't. I don't know I don't know how well I deal with that. To take a life, even if it's by accident, you still took a life, right? Hey, no problem, Fraser Valley. Anytime, man. I've just finished my 9 to 5, and you got these benefit spongers sitting on here. Heartbreaking. Everybody's welcome here. You're welcome. I don't care who's here. That Sterling is a dump truck that pulls. Triaxle pup grosses out at 47,000 kgs. So what's that? 95. That's about 100,000 pounds, give or take. Give or take, right? There's 2.2 pounds to a kilo. So 47,000 kilograms, multiply that by 2.2. What are you at? Around 100,000 pounds? So sorry to hear about that, George. Yeah, you know what? It's one of those things that, again, I'm lucky. I'm one of the lucky guys. I never had one, but if you're out here for any length of time, 10 years, 15 years, even, the guys that have been at it for 5 years, there's just so much going on around you in a truck. Like you literally, when you've heard the saying that, who do you think you are, the center of the universe? When you're in a truck and I'm on the highway, I am quite literally the center of my own universe. There is so much going on around me. I mean, seriously, between what's beside me, there could be two, if it's a 3-lane highway and I'm in the middle lane, there could be 7 cars ahead of me, 3 beside me on the driver's side, 4 on the passenger side, and God knows what else, however many behind me. And it's my job as the commercial professional commercial driver to keep tabs on knowing where all these people are, and then trying to predict what these idiots are going to do while they're around you. That's why primarily they want trucks in that right lane, because it eliminates one whole lane worth of traffic, right? You don't have traffic down the driver's side. All you got is the yellow line. And I agree with that. I agree with, trucks don't need to be out in the hammer lane. Trucks don't need to really be in the middle lane. The middle lane should be for passing only. So if you're out in that middle lane and you're just cruising along at 63 or 65 mile an hour, whatever the speed limit is, you know what? Fucking get out of it. Get over there in the right lane. If they're not going as fast as you want to go, if the speed limit's 65 and they're doing 65 and you want to be driving 70, well, then you go around them. That's fine. But don't sit out in that bloody middle lane. That's not necessary. All you're doing is becoming a hindrance and a big cumbersome, pain in the ass to everybody else. And that's why you got, people that start to get impatient. You got four-wheelers, they'll get impatient. You sit out in that middle lane too long, especially if the guy in the right lane is governed at 64 miles or 65 miles an hour, and let's just say that you've got 65 miles an hour, or you got 65 and a half, and you're going to pass them. Well, that's like an 8 or 9 minute pass. It's going to take you 8 or 9 minutes to pass that guy. Is that necessary? If he's governed at 65, set your truck at 65. You're not getting anywhere any sooner at 66 miles an hour, right? Back your thing down to 65 miles an hour, get fucking 3 truck lengths between you, and set your cruise control and just truck on and enjoy the scenery. You don't need to be out in the middle lane at 66 miles an hour and take 8 minutes to pass this guy, because then you're going to have a lineup of traffic behind you. Or you're going to get people that are so stupid and so impatient, they're going to do dumb shit. A lot of accidents don't happen because the truck driver is in the middle of the accident. It's because the truck driver is doing something stupid, and a four-wheeler is being impatient, and they'll do something stupid. Next thing you know, they're trying to get around you, or they're trying to duck and dive in between. And you get four-wheelers playing chicken. Basically, they don't realize they're doing it, but they're playing chicken with a 2 or 3 trucks, right? And next thing you know, you've got a pancake. One car gets pancaked or sideswiped or da 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 da. So if you're one of those left lane riders, or you're in the middle lane rider, don't do it. If your truck's wide open and you can run 75 mile an hour and the speed limit is 65, you know what? Hey, great. You want to pass the guy? Fine. Drop a gear, split it, put your foot to the floor and go, but get around him and then get back in as soon as you can. I got no problem with that. I've done that millions of times. But if your truck is 60, you governed to 65 and a half, and this guy's got 65, sit at 65. Don't be a dick. Don't be a dick. I know it's hard, but don't be a dick. My neighbor has a Western Star roll-off that I want for silage work. Yeah, how much is that going to cost you? What's up, Ghost? Good to see you. I'm loading at Dow. They haven't blown up since yesterday. Should be good. Dow, for those of you that don't know, Dow is a chemical. Dow Chemicals. Ghost pulls. She pulls dangerous. Like she pulls DG. So she is. She's one of those drivers that is literally at the top of the game, at the top of the food chain. She when I just said a few minutes ago, about a rolling bomb. Well, that's chasing ghosts. What she does for a living, and a lot of the stuff that she's pulling, you're not smoking around, you're not banging around. If somebody hits that trailer, or somebody does something with that trailer, there's a good chance somebody's getting seriously hurt. So, so when she says that they haven't blown up since yesterday, she's taking a crack shot at Dow Chemicals. I get on the radio like an auctioneer trying to call a race when they block the road like that. Well, I call it the elephant races, right? I call it the elephant races. You got fucking one big fat ass here and one big fat ass here, and one's going by the other one at half a mile an hour faster than the other one. There's other colorful names that we call it, but yeah, I call it an elephant race. Ghost, she likes to get on the mic and start calling the race. That's actually pretty funny. I never actually thought of doing that. That's not a bad idea. Next time well, actually, I don't have a CB in my car anymore, or I never had a CB in my car, but I don't have a CB available to me. I think Victoria would lose her shit if she came home and I had a CB and a great big whip on my car, because we share the car, and I'm sure she does not want to be seen with that driving around town. That's a good idea, though, Tara. I gotta give it to you. If by chance I'm ever in that position, I get that opportunity, I will do it, and I will record it. You should do that. Ghost, there you go. Right, Chasing Ghost has a channel. Go check her out. There's my challenge to you, Ghost. Set up your GoPro or set up your phone, and eventually when you see a situation like that, just hit the play and let the commentary go. Let it go and record it. Get 2-3 good minutes of that. I would love to see it. I really would. And if you can get the southern twang down, like Dale Jarrett or Daryl Waltrip when they were calling races, or if you can get that down, that'd even be more entertaining. I was hauling 2 hay wagons on a little tractor, almost died because of this dumbass that was doing 100,000 on the frontage of my property, and I couldn't see beside. Luckily, I saw him as I turned in. And again, Fraser Valley, it's one of those things I just said to you, you don't worry so much about what you're doing. When you're going down the highway, I'm not worried about what I'm doing. I'm secure in what I'm doing. I'm in my left lane, or if I'm in the middle lane and I'm passing, I know what I'm doing. It's the blur, literally the blur of traffic around you that is constantly changing every 2 to 3 seconds. And that is what concerns me. I don't worry about my own abilities or what I'm doing. Once I've got myself in the lane, I got my cruise, everything else around me is what worries me. I'm at the exact Dow facility that was on fire yesterday. Today they have a safety meeting before everything. So how do they do that? Right? How do they have a fire or something blew up at the chemical factory, and yet the next day they're open for operation? A Kia with a K40 whip on the roof. Yeah, 2.4. The whip would be like 9 feet in the air going back. But how do they do that? How do they possibly at all have that ability to do that? And here's an example, right? Where I used to take those ingots down. To when I was doing the heavy haul when I lived in Ontario, I'd be taking those ingots. Well, that company right now is no longer pulling those ingots down there. It's not because there's no ingots, it's because there was an explosion at the plant. And it was at a very segregated part of the plant, right? It wasn't like the whole plant. It was just a portion over here, but the whole plant is closed. Everything is closed. The whole plant is shut down end to end, top to bottom, everything like that. I would imagine with a chemical, especially a company like Dow, with a chemical a company like that, why is that whole plant not shut down? Why are they not like revamping, relooking, checking? I don't know. I guess money talks, Ghost? Maybe. Usually I don't film while driving in my truck. I'm sitting in a bomb-proof I'm sitting in a bomb-proof box right now while they load me. Don't need boss watching film of me driving. Well, you know what? That's another good point. I can't fault you there. I've never pulled dangerous goods to the degree that you do. Yes, I've had hazmat on my trailers when pulling a van or whatever like that, but we're talking very, very small quantities, a skid of this or a couple of barrels of that. You're sitting on, given not quite, but you're sitting on what would be the equivalent of like nuclear fucking waste. So yeah, you make one mistake and somebody's getting hurt, very hurt. This facility is its own town with its own fire and EMS. It's several miles in any direction and many companies incorporated within. Yeah. You know what? Again, that sounds to me like money talks, right? They don't want to they're not shutting that plant down. It was the same with that, Novellis, where we were delivering down in New York State there. That plant, well, put it this way, the plant has all its own roads and everything within the plant, and they show that it's big enough that it shows up those streets and everything. They show up on your GPS. And exactly, the plant itself is probably, I can't say for sure because I've never measured it, but I've had to drive around from like a complete circle on the entire plant. It's probably at least a mile long and probably 3/4 of a mile wide. So that's a fairly big plant. And where the explosion wasn't anywhere near the receiving areas or where the ingots or any of the metal components come into the plant. It had not even close to any of that, but the whole plant was closed down. This place here, Novellis down there, is very much like a very small. It's like a small town, right? They've got their own EMS, they got their own helicopter for EMS, they got their own fire department, they got their own ambulances, they got their own mechanics out there working on their own trucks. So yeah, I know what you're talking about. But if they're not shutting it down, it's because of money. Again, don't judge me. I'm somebody's daughter today, but don't judge me. Ah, 2060 is in here, 2080 is in here. That's not bad. Do me a favor, hit the like button, would you? I'm not going to ask you to sub. We don't do that. But if you want to hang out for a bit and do some chit chatting and bullshitting, then you know what? Hit the like button and throw your comments up. if you want to make a comment, I got no problem. Say whatever you want to me. You can challenge anything that I say. If you don't agree with it, please feel free to throw something up in the chat that you don't agree, and this is why, and and we can talk about it. But like I said, say whatever you want to me. But if you want to start getting mouthy with other people in the chat, well, 2-4 as a moderator in here, and he'll stomp the shit out of you, and you'll just take a walk. Don't come in and cause shit. You want to put stupid shit up there about peeing on bears, man, knock yourself out. You make yourself look like an idiot. It makes no bearing on me. I will not lose a minute of sleep. Trust me. I hold a lot of nuclear waste, usually from Cincinnati area to the salt mines in New Mexico. Also, the paint for compass needles is radioactive. I've hauled that too, and stuff I still don't know what it was. I didn't know that about compass needles. The paint, I didn't know that. I just learned something new. Thank you, Ghost. Yeah, you see, you're pulling high end, dangerous goods. I've never done that. Like I said, in my career, I've had a skid of this on or that on, or a couple of drums of some kind of chemical. Nothing that if it exploded was going to cause a mushroom cloud, 700 feet high, 30 miles wide, and start blowing windows out of houses of the next nearest towns. Like something like that goes wrong in your place, in your truck. There you go. It's the people's helicopter, trucks, and mechanics, etc. Curtis, no, actually, all the helicopter, all that all belonged to the company. It was all company owned. I do have a question though for you, Ghost. You hauled stuff. I still don't know what it was. Ooh, no matter what they ever put in my trailer, or if I was flatbedding what they were putting on my trailer, Ghost, I always knew what it was. Right? I always took the time. As soon as they gave me the bill of lading and the dangerous goods or the hazardous goods um, placards and the descriptions of what I had, I always, and if I didn't know what it was, thank God for we've got phones now. I Google the shit out of it. I I wanted to know what it was. I always knew what it was. On the plus side, if I screw up, it's not my problem. I no longer have problems at that point. Yeah, if you screw something up, you won't be around to figure it out or figure out what happened or why, because you wouldn't even have time to stick your own head between your legs and kiss your ass goodbye. that's actually that's actually a funny vision. Andy, good to see you this morning, man. How the hell are you? How the hell are you? We are a very chilly -2 or 28 degrees, -2 Celsius or 28 degrees Fahrenheit out here in Alberta this morning. And we are not looking to get any warmer over the next couple of days. We're looking at snow for the weekend out here, Andy. Um, you're welcome to come out and shovel. I don't shovel, so you're welcome to come out and shovel some snow and play in the snow out here if you guys don't have any where you're at. It's not uncommon right now. It's not uncommon in Alberta to be, September, October, to have, days where you're going to get a blast of snow. And I don't mean it's going to be 18 feet high and we're going to be fucking, you need excavators to get it out. But, at -2 right now, it's cold enough that there's frost on the ground. That everything's, you walk across your own lawn and you're going crunch, 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 crunch. So that's cold enough. And if it stays long enough, the ice or any kind of puddles will freeze. But luckily, right now, the sun's out. We got a beautiful day. It's a beautiful sunny day. So we're supposed to go up to a real warm 8 degrees today. 15 there. Well, you're lucky. You're lucky. 2-4 is at 23. 23 is for me. 23 for me is still shorts and t-shirts weather, man. I'm still wearing shorts and t-shirts at 23 degrees, man. I've hauled trailers out of Montreal back in the day where you didn't ask what was in it. All I will say on here, well, 2-4 at some point or another, I think any of us back then, um, Montreal, Toronto, um, not so much Quebec City, but Montreal, Toronto. There's been the odd time where there's been something on there, and somebody's saying, okay, this is this, and this, and goddamn well that's not what it is. But if you're new in the game and you're a new driver, you're just gonna okay and all right and carry on and drive it and do what you got to do. But yeah, there's been times where there's been something on the trailer that's questionable, and shame on me. Maybe I should have done it, or I should have questioned it or had them take it. I didn't. I didn't. I had bills. I knew what the bill said, but it ain't what was it ain't what it was. Government loads. Okay, again, you know what? Again, ghost. um, I've never done that. So I've never done like government loads like that. I've done government loads where I'm pulling, say, like flatbedding, doing military equipment, or pulled, like tanks or trucks or any kind of shit like that for the government. Um, Crates. I guess there's been times where there's been crates and stuff like that are labeled machine parts or truck parts. There could have been fucking bazookas in them for all I knew, right? Because when you got to cross a border with a military load like that, they can't x-ray it and they won't look at it, especially if it's military. So there's probably a chance that in my day that pulling some of those loads, yeah, I probably pulled something across the border. I had something in a crate that was marked machine parts that was landmines. Who fucking knows, right? What's going on, Crag Rat? Just slipped in the back door. I didn't even feel it, buddy. You better work on that. Didn't even feel it. Plays on the freeway is 64 there. That's not bad. 64 degrees. That's still you're still comfortable. You're not putting on a jacket or hat or mitts or anything like that. Over the border, what did you find harder, getting into the States or getting back into Canada? I always found getting Canada worse. They see Canadians are nice, but I found them they gave the wrong hard time. You know what? For me, getting into the United States was always easier than coming back in. When I was going into the US, they would, you'd present your passport, you'd present your ACE, your documents, and your bill of lading. And that's all you present. Actually, you didn't have to present your bill of lading. You just handed in your passport and your ACE. And they'd ask you a couple of questions. Where you going? What do you got? Where you going? Once in a while, they'll throw a trick curveball at you and go, do you have a reload coming back? Where you picking that up? But other than that, usually going into the US was pretty smooth. It's coming back, right? Because once you get into the States, let's just say I might go to Kentucky and deliver. I might go from there over to Ohio, right? To reload. And then, you're going to spend, say you're in the States for maybe 2 days. maybe 3 days, depending on how far or whatever you're doing. So when you get back to Canada, the first thing they you hand them your ACI, you hand them your passport again, and you have to hand them your bill of lading going back into Canada. How long were you? How the first question is, how long were you away? Now, I never ever told them how many days I was gone. I always said to them, I entered I entered the United States at whatever border. So let's just say it's Alexandria Bay. I entered the United States here at 2:30 on Monday afternoon. Let them do the fucking math, right? Because depending on how long or where you're gone, sometimes I don't know how many days have I gone. What day is it? I don't. You know what? I came in on Monday at 2:30, or I entered the U.S. at right here at Alexandria Bay on Monday afternoon, and let them do the math. And so then they'll ask you, how long have you, okay, where did you go? Well, I delivered in Kentucky at this customer this time, blah, 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 blah. Where did you pick that load up? Well, I had to go from there over to Ohio. Well, I noticed that you had 8 hours of this and that. Well, yeah, I had a breakdown. They ask you a whole lot more because they're more worried about shit coming back into Canada than what's going out. That was just always my experience. I could always The only border I found going into the US that was very picky or a lot tougher, they'd ask you more questions. They was going from Windsor, Ontario into Detroit, right? Going into Detroit, usually the U.S. customs officials in Michigan going into Detroit, they would ask you a lot more questions. But you know what? And they had a tendency. They also like to throw rapid fire at you. I found that the two borders in Port Huron and Sarnia, like Sarnia being Canada, Port Huron being Michigan, and Windsor being Ontario and Detroit being Michigan. Both of those two borders were probably the only borders that I found that would commonly throw rapid fire at you, meaning that they've got a list of questions and they pretty much don't wait for your answer. Where you been, how long you've been, and you've got 1 second. And what they're doing is they're really not listening to your answer. They're watching your eyes, they're watching your body language, they're watching your facial expressions, and that's what they're trained. That's what they're trained to do. And it seems that Michigan is probably going into Michigan for me was always the one of those places that they'd throw the rapid fire at you. Now, 9 out of 10 times, 9 out of 10 times, I could nail them off. Oh, yeah, this, and then okay, here you go. Thank you. Stamp. See you later. Adios. Get out of here. You're taking up time. So that was for Michigan. Most other borders, especially going into the U.S., especially if you get out west, you get into Saskatchewan and Manitoba and shit like that. You're coming out of North Dakota into Saskatchewan, or if you're coming out of Saskatchewan into North Dakota, or Manitoba into North Dakota, it's not a lot of bullshit. It really isn't. These are pretty comfortable borders. They're pretty easy as long as your paperwork is in order, right? And that you're prepared to yes sir, no sir, thank you sir, have a nice day sir. I've been known at times, if there's police, I've been known at times to, I will stand up to a cop or I will talk back to a cop. I have no fear of a police officer, whether it be U.S. or Canadian. And there's been a couple of times where, shame on me, I've even gotten a little mouthy with them, or mumbled something under my breath. The one thing I never ever messed around with was customs. I did it the one time, and it was in Detroit, and I got burnt. I absolutely got burnt. I got nailed. And from that day forward, it was always at customs, whether going into the US or coming back into Canada. It was always make sure before you get there, even if you had to pull into duty free or pull off before you get there, make sure that you've got your customs, and make sure your customs is cleared, make sure all your paperwork is in order, make sure you've got your ACE or ACI printed off in your truck, make sure your passport is readily available, and make sure it's all in a nice neat pile so you just hand it all to them in one shot and let them ask the questions. And it's like, give them crisp, don't elaborate. If I could, I'd just give you one word answers, yes, no, where'd you go? Kentucky, blah, 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 blah. I wouldn't say, well, I went to Kentucky and I delivered here and then I went over here to the truck stop and I got myself a sandwich. No, 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 no. Tell them just what they need to know and then carry on. And you know what? Customs, if you mess with them, they'll bury you. And they did. They buried me years and years and years ago. And it took almost 3 years to get a particular flag. They red flag you or they black flag you. And I got red flagged. And it took 3 years to get that lifted because I got mouthy with a U.S. Customs agent in Detroit. And even then, I didn't even get really mouthy with her. I mumbled something under my breath and she heard it. What do you do? What do you do? So I got caught and I paid a price for it. So I just don't do it anymore. Or obviously I don't do it anymore, but I just don't mess around with customs. Cops, I know my rights. If a cop pulls me over on the side of the road, I know my rights. Same with DOT. If DOT pulls me over on the side of the road and they want to come into my truck and look around, no, absolutely not. You have to have just cause to be in this truck. This is my domicile, blah, 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 blah. But U.S. Customs, they don't. You go into Customs, they want to look inside your truck. Fine. They want to pull the bolts off your seat and take it out and see what's underneath your driver's seat. They can do it. And they've done it. So over the boy. Yeah, okay, back to Canada. Gotta go. All right, Tara, good to see you. Thanks, Ghost. What's going on, Stephanie? Good to see you, sweetheart. How are you? What are you cooking today? I don't want to ask. I really don't want to ask what you're cooking, but it's just out of morbid curiosity that I want to know what the fuck you're making today. I don't. I do and I don't. I do and I don't. Stephanie, my dear, good afternoon. Look at Cragrat laying out the charm. He's just filling in for Chicken Hawk till Chicken Hawk gets here. That's all he's doing. That's all he's doing. Plays on the freeway. That's a really good idea. Taken care of. There you go. There you go. Mr. B from North Crackalaca, good to see you, man. Are you freezing your ass off down there like I am up here? Hopefully you're nice and warm. Jesus. Freedom of speech until you make them feel less powerful. Laugh my ass off. You know what? It's not even that. It's not that you make them feel less powerful. It's when you question if for example, there's two ways to piss off customs. One is what you're talking about, and I agree with that. I do. I absolutely agree with that. Make them feel less powerful. You question their authority, even if they're wrong. Do you know how many times I've been involved or I've been, something's been going on, and the goddamn cop is wrong, and he knows he's wrong, but he's going to stand his line. That's fine. That's one way, especially with the border, freedom of speech until you make them feel less powerful. The other way is just to be downright rude to them, right? You got to remember, customs doesn't need a reason to pull you in. A cop, technically, let's go. I don't want to set anybody off here, but a cop technically needs a reason to pull you over. Broken tail light, you didn't use your signal, you're speeding, whatever. Technically, they need. Now, don't get me wrong, guys. They make shit up all the time just to pull fucking people over. They do it, but technically, customs doesn't technically need shit. Canada or U.S. Customs, if you go rolling up, they can put you into secondary for no reason whatsoever, other than okay, it's a random pull. It's random. You're getting pulled in. And simple as that. And they have the right to go through the load, the trailer, the truck, right? Go, check the outside of the truck, check the inside of the truck. I was live that one time we were crossing the border and I left the live up. I got pulled into the secondary and they made me back into a door. I backed into the door. I got out of the truck. I left the live up so you guys could see the inside of the truck. And you guys watched the customs agent come out and walk into my truck, and he moved a little of this, he looked at that, he, blah, blah, blah. And then he came out and everything was cool. But in customs doesn't need a reason. They can just pull you randomly for any reason, anything, just because they feel like it. And that's what U.S. or Canada Customs can do. Police are a different story. DOT or MTO, for example, like if you get pulled into a scale and they want to, pull you around and do an inspection on you, well, the Department of Transportation in the United States, DOT, or the MTO, the Ministry of Transportation in Canada, in Ontario or whatever, they're there for technical, for mechanical. So they're there to inspect your truck and your load to make sure it's safely secured. It's load securement and make sure that the truck is safe to be on the road. It's there to be the, and all of the safety factors and features on the truck are working. They are not allowed to go into the back of your truck and start ripping shit apart, going through your microwave, going through your clothes and everything like that. The officers are allowed to come up onto your step, and they're allowed to see as far into the truck as what they can see with the naked eye. They are not allowed to remove you out of the truck and, go into your truck and walk around inside the truck. That's DOT or MTO. Same with the police. If the police are in the back of your truck, they have to have just reason. They have to have suspicion of drugs, alcohol, firearms, anything like that. But if they're just pulling you over and they've got no reason for that, then they've got no right to be back there. Again, customs, on the other hand, they can inspect everything, including you. I've never been subject myself to a full body search where they strip you down, snap rubber glove. I've never, but I've been frisked. I've had them ask me, you're in that little box in the customs while they're looking at the truck, the trailer, and the load. You're in a little box, confined box. There's a camera on you and you can see what's going on. It's not like it's all, and I've had them say, okay, come on over here. We're just going to do you consent to a search? They're asking, do you consent? But they don't need your consent. And I've had them, they'll wand you. And then another male will pat, check you out. Okay. You're all good. Thank you very much. And you know what? There's no sense starting a fight or starting a ruckus for something like that. If you want to check the trailer, the truck, the trailer, the load, fine. You want to check me, fine. I got nothing to hide, right? I got nothing to hide. It's not like I'm smuggling Mexicans or I'm smuggling drugs or I got cocaine or fucking firearms. If you've got nothing on your truck, let them do it. They got a job to do, right? They got a job to do. Brian Roberts been getting screwed over lately with European customs. You know what? I understand he was in France, I think yesterday at customs, getting another reaming going on. I'm not 100% sure what's going on with Robert. Sometimes I almost think, and I don't say this against Robert, but Robert is very fiery and he's very passionate and he's very excitable. You can get him excited very easily and get his blood pumping. And once you do, it's like just lighting a very short fused, firecracker. You can watch that fuse burn for about 5 minutes, but when that fucker goes off, and you know what, I can see Robert probably being his own worst enemy if one of the customs people says the wrong thing to him. Hopefully he doesn't. Believe me, I was like that at times too, and I learned my lesson. I did. I learned my lesson. I got my ass handed to me, and I got red flagged at Detroit, and it wasn't fun. It wasn't fun. Every single time I crossed the border from Windsor to Detroit, they didn't even ask a goddamn question. Right? Paperwork, passport, everything went to the window. They go do 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 do. They write out a slip over to secondary. They wouldn't even tell me why, and it was just because I got mouthy and I got inappropriate with one of the customs agent, and there was something on there. As soon as it came up, there was like over to secondary, and secondary they'd pull me in, look at the load, look at my truck, basically they were just stalling me, right? They were teaching me a lesson that this is the last time you're going to open your mouth, you dumb fuck, and you won't do that again. And sure as shit, they were right. Prawns are shrimp. Yeah, they are. Sorry, did Stephanie happen to say what she's making? Yeah, I'm making chicken stir fry and homemade prawn toast. What is prawn toast? Homemade prawn toast. Prawns are shrimp, basically, right? They're bigger shrimp, I think they are. So what do? Grind them up and put it into the bread, and I don't know. I don't know. Don't have a clue. What about coloring your beard red? Believe it or not, my beard was red, right? My beard was red when I was a younger man. My beard started changing colors probably I started to gray out probably about my mid 30s. And then by the time I was into my mid 40s, there was like little, like you can see my mustache is still a little bit of looks brownish, but it's red. And there might be the odd little trace here and there, whatever. But by the time I was in my mid 40s, I had just this and a little bit there. And now here I am at 55. And it's if I was to grow it out like I used to have it out, if you go back on my channel and look at some videos of like 6 or 7 months ago, where I had the great big Duck Dynasty beard, it was Santa Claus all over again. Ever since the UK came out of the EU, British truck drivers get screwed. Well, you know what? You tell me they didn't see that coming, Craig Rat? Of course they did. Of course they did. They had to know that was going to come. The second you guys pulled out of the EU and basically told them, and that's what you did. What did you think? All those European countries were going to lovingly open their arms and take you back at all times? I don't think so, brother. Good to see you, Buck Brown. Damn good to see you, man. From where are you? From the hills of Virginia. Virginia. You're in the vagina, right? That's Jeremy and me and a couple of the other boys when we'll be on the phone talking, and you're coming out of you're coming out of Maine or whatever, and you're on the 81. You're coming out of Maine, so yeah. And as I'm crossing into West Virginia, you go, yeah, just crossing into West Virginia. And then, nope, just crossed into the vagina. So, Canadians call vagina, Canadian truck drivers call Virginia vagina or the vagina. If I was to pick up the phone right now and I was talking to Jeremy and I said, "Where are you?" He says, I'm at the 126 yard line in vagina. I'd know exactly where he is. Chances are he'd be in the scale house. Virginia is probably, in my opinion, I think the worst, not worst, don't get me wrong, it's not worse, but the two scales in Virginia on 81, the northbound and the southbound, I don't think I've ever passed those scales and they've been closed. Even like Christmas Eve, right? Christmas Eve, I've never passed them and they've been closed. They are always open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, never closed. I got caught in Virginia. I was 800 pounds over, right? So I was 80,800 pounds over gross. And the fine, I lost my shit, right? I pulled in, da 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 da. This guy's telling me, says, "Well, man, this is Virginia." And I said, "So what's the fine? What am I looking at here?" He looks at me and he's all serious. Great big bull of a man. And he looks right at me and goes, "Son, this is Virginia." He says, "In Virginia, it's a penny a pound." And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm 8 pounds over or 800 pounds over. A penny a pound. I'm trying to do mental math in my head and I'm thinking, what, 800 bucks, 8,000 bucks? Fucking $8. The fine was $800. But the administration fee was $75. The photo fee was like $25. And then because you had to go around and cross the scale again, they're going to ding you another, I think it was another 25 bucks like that. All told, I think it was almost $200 that you have to pay for an $8 fine. It was the most ridiculous thing, a penny a pound. But that's probably why they're open, because they nail everybody. Like if you're just over by a little bit, they're nailing you. Signal red. Okay, if you say so. My vote would be for pink beard. Well, Buck, you can put your vote in if you want for a pink beard, but it's probably not going to happen today, or tomorrow, or the next day. We're not going pink, and we're not painting Red Wings on either, brother. So that's just not happening either. That's a big cup of coffee. I'm just trying to get the last of it down before it gets completely cold. I'm cooking Fruit Loops. You're cooking Fruit Loops. I've seen Fruit Loops get baked I've seen people do versions of like Rice Krispie squares with Fruit Loops and shit like that, or I've seen them get baked with turned into cookies and shit like that. But I've never seen anybody cook a Fruit Loop. I can, if we're talking about plays on the freeway, there's a Fruit Loop cooking a Fruit Loop right now. I've had DOT dismantle the cab on a well drilling rig searching for contraband in the early 90s. I've never had them dismantle my truck. I've had them take like a wheel off, like something like that. And I've had them like remove, I made reference to it earlier. I've had them undo the bolts on my driver's seat, lift it out, and look. But I've never had a serious dismantling where they came in. Now, that's not to say I've not had them. I've had them come in, man. And, January, February, they got winter snow boots on and they're all covered in shit and salt. And they come tromping through your truck and they literally everything in every cabinet and every shelf, they just do this. They scoop it out and you get back in your truck and everything you own, including your GPS, is just piled up on your bed. I've had them do that, right? Just everything, all your food, all your cans, everything you've got, with the exception, I think maybe they left some of the shit in the fridge. But other than that, I've had them do that quite a few times. But most of the time, especially for me in the last part of my driving, I was crossing the same borders twice a day, every day, 6 days a week. They knew who I was. They knew what the truck was. They knew the truck. They knew the driver. They knew the load. They knew the company. They, blah, 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 blah. You build a rapport with these. There were years that went by where I could cross Port Huron, Sarnia into Port Huron. I could cross Detroit into Michigan. I could cross Lake Erie and or Erie, not Erie, Niagara into Buffalo. I could cross where else? What is the other border? You got Alexandria Bay. I could cross any of those borders, and because I was crossing them at a regular interval, going out once 1 week, maybe crossing borders twice that week, going back and forth, and next week maybe going out once and then crossing. But if you do it long enough, they eventually, most of the time, it's the same guys and girls in there. They get to know you. They get to see you. Christ, for years, I always had my dog with me. They know the fucking dog as well. You know, Brian's beard goes red once a month. It does not. It don't go there. Nope. No red wings on this cowboy. Thank you very much. We have a big shortage of drivers in the US now. I wonder if the rates are going to go up because of it. Mr. B, we were talking about that yesterday. Travel via vagina. I love that doctor advice. Very good. You should put that on a billboard as you're coming out of West Vagina going into Vagina. Travel via vagina. There you go. I don't know about you, Miss Doctor Advice. I'm kind of partial to traveling by the vagina. But anyway, let's get back to Mr. Beast. We were talking about that yesterday, and the driver shortage there's going to be even a bigger driver shortage because they're really pounding down on this English speaking mandate that they put through. So they are pulling more trucks off the road nowadays. So there's going to be a mandate for more drivers. We're going to be there's going to be that's going to add to whatever driver shortage they say they're having. But on the other hand, think about this, and you can relate to this because you were at one point in this category. The guys that are retiring from driving now aren't driving as long as they used to. Guys used to drive into their 60s, 65, 63, 65, 66. They used to drive into their 60s. Those guys that's not happening so much anymore. The guys that are getting out of the business are getting out much younger, 55, 50, 55. And, at 50 years old, you're still young enough to go do something else. The old timers don't want to drive anymore. They don't want the regulations. They don't like the infrastructure. They don't want the hassles. They don't want all the bullshit that comes with driving a truck these days. So at the retirement or the out level, they're bailing out of this industry. And then you've got on top of that, you've got like what's going on with the mandate of the English speaking shit. So that's not helping. So you've got them bailing out at one end, but they're bailing out faster than they're coming in at this end. And the quality, Mr. B's, I know you're going to agree with this. The quality of the drivers coming in is nowhere close to even half of the quality of the drivers that were going out. You know, you can't take a 30-year guy, and he retires and he bails out and he's getting out of this business. You cannot replace that experience and knowledge and wheel time with a new guy coming out of school, or a new guy that's, you know, he's got 2 or 3 or 5 years. You can't replace that. And that's what's fine. That's what's getting harder as well. And on top of that, the new guys just aren't sticking around. They go get their license. They think that this is all going to be fun. They're going to have a great time. Oh yeah, I'm going to get paid to see the country. I'm going to go to the US, and, you know, I'm going to go to California, whatever. And then it doesn't happen for them. You know, they're working 70 hours a week. They're fucking running 14 hours a day. They're sleeping at odd hours. They're, you know, they're awake in the middle of the, they're driving through the middle of the night because their appointments at a food terminal at 3:30 in the morning. You know, all of that. They're away from their families. They're away from their kids. You know, for a guy that's never missed his you know, his kids' birthdays, he's always been there, and da 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 da. Or a woman. There's women drivers, obviously. You know, they're coming in and they're going, oh wow, you know, I'm not going to be home for my kid's birthday. I'm going to miss Thanksgiving. You know, all the holidays you're going to miss. And after 6 or 8 months, sometimes a year, they go, F this. I'm not doing this. I'm working 70 hours a week. I'm getting pushed. I'm never sleeping. I'm getting fat because I'm eating shit food. I can't keep a regular diet. I can't keep a regular sleep schedule. I'm suffering from anxiety. I've got, you know, heart palpitation. Oh, let me tell you that they don't last. And the ones that do last, well, okay, they're keepers. Let's keep them. But the ones that don't, they're just going, it's not worth it. You know what? Why would you work for 70 hours for, let's say, an average? If you average out your 70 hours, and if you broke out your per mile rate to a dollar value, it probably comes to about $10 an hour, $8 an hour. Why the frick would you want to do that when you can go work at Starbucks? We were joking about it yesterday. You can go work at Starbucks or McDonald's or fucking like something like that for $18 an hour and flip burgers or make mochas, and you're going to work a 40-hour week. You know, it's just that's part of the problem, or part of some. No, I'm just touching the tip of the iceberg. There's a whole lot more to it, but you know what? The drivers bailing out, that's adding to the driver shortage because they're not coming in as fast as they are, and the ones that are coming in aren't staying. And then you've got this English speaking law. Now that law has been on the books for years. They just never enforced it. Now they are. That's all it is. Brian, Brian YT show. Good to see you, man. I love this guy's shorts. And I don't mean his shorts, the ones he's wearing under his jeans right now. I mean the shorts that he puts up all the time on his own channel. Um, just out of nowhere. He's one of these guys. He's got a good little channel, and just out of the bomb, he'll throw up a short, and I'll look at the title, or I'll look at this, and I'll look at the short, and then it'll something just out of the blue, something I'll sideswipe it, and it's like I didn't expect that, and I'm usually get a really good laugh out of it, you know, or it's something really kind of cool. And keep doing that. Keep doing that, Brian. It's good shit. I really enjoy what you do, and I like to watch the shit you're doing. I call it shit. I'm not saying it's shit, right? But I'm just using it in reference. That's some good shit, man. Keep up the good shit. Not to mention, VA doesn't allow for APU exemption either. Um, they used to, Buck. They used to give you the 400-pound weight exemption for APUs and EPUs. Is that something that changed recently? Now it's been years, probably 2 or 3 years, maybe even a little longer than that. It's been 2 or 3 years since I've been down to Virginia. I see Golden Aladdin's in here. Maybe Aladdin would know that. He's still running the goddamn highway and tearing it up and burning rubber. Maybe Rick would know the answer to that. If the APU exemption for Virginia, when it came in, or when it, because I know they used to have it, right? I know they used to have it. So anyway, good morning, Aladdin. Good to see you. We still talking golden? Are we golden, Aladdin? What's the thought process? What's going on here, son? I'm sitting on the edge of my seat. Let's go, man. Pull the goddamn trigger, Rick. Pull that trigger. Stop procrastinating. My God. Yes, I procrastinate once in a while. I don't procrastinate a lot. But when you got a guy like me who pulls the trigger relatively, I make a decision, I implement the decision, I make the decision, then I move on. I don't give that decision another thought. I move on to my next task. Da da da. But every once in a while, I will procrastinate on stuff like that. And you take a person like that, and then you become friends with a guy like Golden Aladdin, who will procrastinate on whether to eat the fucking, the red jelly bean or the blue jelly bean. He will sit there for 20 minutes in his driver's seat going, not a joke. I've never seen Rick do that, but I'm just saying, like, he procrastinates. He's a procrastinator. Thank God you're good at what you do there, buddy. Thank God you're very good at what you do, and you've been doing it as long as you have. Because if I procrastinated like you, I'd still be sitting at that scale in Virginia, figuring out the 8 pounds and for 800 pounds for $8. Uh, Not to mention, okay, sorry. Brian, I'll start posting pics on my white YouTube channel of what I cook so you can see it. Well, it's no, why would I want to torture the shit out of myself like that? It's bad enough I got to sit here and listen to what you're talking about. And then I got to sit here and listen to you flirt with Chicken Hawk about it. You think I want to go look at it too? Yeah, just dangle the carrot in front of me a little farther, please. Dismantle vehicles in the UK by DOT is common. Had it done twice. That's because you guys got so much more border traffic, because all of your countries, there's what, probably 12, 15 countries, all in the same area, like square mile, that maybe the whole province of Ontario, right? You've got 12 countries all pounded in there. So there's 12 different borders that you guys can cross. I know that when Robert is out driving, Tyke is out driving, he'll cross from England into France, or England into Holland, then Holland over to Germany, Germany over to blah, blah. Like, every time you're doing that, you're crossing the goddamn border. Me, the only borders I got to cross is from Canada into the US, and then from US into Canada. We didn't go into Mexico, right? As Canadians, we don't go into Mexico. If there's something, like, we have loads that go to Mexico, but if I have to take a load down to Mexico, I would go down to Laredo, go into a drop lot, like a custom secure drop lot, drop the trailer, and then a Mexican driver comes in, picks the load up, secures it, and takes it down, delivers it, and brings me back the empty trailer. Or if it's a load, depending on what the company is, if it's a load, they'll reload it wherever they delivered it to. That company they delivered it to will reload the trailer, and they'll bring it back to me in Laredo. And then, of course, I will truck it back up to Canada. But I never went into Mexico. There's many a time I think there was two. And again, Aladdin probably knows this better than I do, because he does a lot of Texas, and it's been years since I did it. But there's two big yards down in Laredo, and one of them is, and I'm sure, Rick, you've been in it. You can literally stand on your flatbed and look over the wall. Right, it's not that high. You can look over the wall, and you're looking into Mexico. That's Mexico on the other side of that brick wall. I can't remember what that one's called. So now that you're retired, are you now the wheel less the wheel less burner? Well, yeah, I don't know, man. I can still light up the tires on a Kia. Mr. Beast, does that count? Does that count? The fact that I can light up the tires on my Kia, does that count for anything? That's actually pretty funny. It should be travel via vagina. You're certainly going to get screwed. No, you don't get screwed. Actually, I'll be honest with you. At least the Virginia scales, at least they're good. You know what? You go in. I've never had an issue where there's been a hard time at either north or southbound on 81, at least in the scales in Virginia. They're always polite. They're always courteous. They try to get you through as quickly as possible. And part of that is, it's money, right? They want to get in, get your fines, get the fuck out. We got 50 more to do today. So, how long has it been since the little white pill era? Long time. Well, that's not safe to say, because John, the little white pill era has now been replaced with other drugs. back it wasn't a little white pill, the amphetamine. It was no, they call it. There's even different songs about it. It was the West Coast turnaround, a big black pill. You drive it out from New York to California, and your co-driver, the West Coast turnaround pill, the pill would drive it back for you. But now it's one of those things where there's probably a dozen drugs out there right now where guys are still taking them, especially in the US, where you may not be subject to drug testing. You are subject to drug testing, but it's not a regular thing. Say, for example, like for me, because I got to cross the border going from Canada to US, back to Canada, my drug testing was much more regular. I can imagine there's probably companies down in the States where the drug testing is just not at the top of the list of things that they need to do. Unless it's a state that has state mandated drug testing, and where the state or the Ministry of Transportation in that state has a pool, and that's how they do it in Ontario, and that's how they do a good portion of it in Canada, where your CVOR number and your name are basically in a pool, and you could get pulled at any time, and it's random. They could pull you at any time. I'm not 100% familiar with how it's done in the US, only because I don't work for US carriers. But don't kid yourself. Drugs and alcohol are still an issue in the trucking industry. And here's a thought for you, John. I want you to think about this, okay? I don't know if you're married. I don't know if you got any kids or anything like that, but I can guarantee you, if you went out right now and went out onto a major interstate, if you're in the US, or if you went out onto a major highway, excuse me, if you're in Canada, say, if let's just say, I don't know where you are. Like I said, if you were in Toronto, you'd be on like one of the 400 series highways, the Q, whatever. I guarantee you, if you were on that highway for more than an hour just driving wherever you're going to be passing trucks, and there's going to be trucks. I can guarantee you that some of the trucks that you are passing, or being, working your way through or around, or trucks that are around you, some of those guys are jacked. It's just it's just there. Drugs and alcohol are still an issue in the trucking industry. Yes, they have drug testing, and yes, they have but alcohol is probably more prominent, because you can drive all day, pull into the truck stops, and a lot of truck stops sell beer, or if they don't, the gas station across the street does, and that truck driver can walk over there, buy himself 20 or 24 beer, and then he can either sit in his bunk with his curtains closed, or I've seen it many a times where they sit at the back of the trailer in a lawn chair, they got the radio on, and they're drinking. And you can get absolutely shit faced bombed, and you're only off duty for 10 hours. And if you're drinking and for 5 of those, and you're absolutely hammered, when that driver gets up in the morning, and he starts the truck, and he goes to work, and he gets his first cup of coffee, he's not blowing a legal test. He's still impaired. That happens a lot. And I don't mean like just once in a while. It happens a lot. So I'm telling you right now, honestly, that there's a very good chance that if you're on the road today for any reason, and you're on a highway, there are chances are that at some point or another, you've either been around, or been in front of, or been behind an impaired driver, or somebody that's using a substance of some sort. It's just the numbers factor. It happens enough that eventually, if you pass 100 trucks, you're probably going to be, there's going to be at least 2, 3, 4 of those guys that are behind those wheels that are either got something in their system, or they've still got something from the day before or the night before is drinking in their system. Indians are the best drivers. They make you turn on they make you turn on highways. Well, I'm going to be honest with you, Brad. It seems that the Indians really do take a lot they take a lot of flack. They really do, but they are also their own worst enemies, because they have, for the most part, in the last 5 to 10 years, been the reason for a lot of the accidents, especially here in Canada, especially on anywhere between Windsor and Montreal, like that whole corridor of the 401 right there, from Windsor all the way up to Montreal, or at least to the Quebec line, where the 401 turns into the 20, which then takes you into Montreal. they are responsible for that. But that's not to say that they're 100%. Like, dude, I'm telling you right now that, we've got guys that are white, black, fucking, Indian is in, Cherokee or whatever. Everybody's been guilty of it. Everybody's been guilty of it. I got humped. How about you? Happy Hump Day, red-blooded American. Well, the Hump Day is when being Wednesday is Hump Day, but it's not Hump Day for everybody, right? We got guys and girls that are out there trucking right now. That Wednesday is just another day that ends in Y. It doesn't mean anything to them. It doesn't mean oh, this is the middle of my week and I've got 2 more days before I can shut down, because they're going to be working through the weekend, or they're going to be. So I've just kind of threw that up there going, well, it's hump day. Hump day for me. My week is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, blah, blah, blah. I'm not driving a truck. But on the other hand, there's guys out there. Aladdin's one of them. He does resets on the road. The weekend isn't necessarily the weekend. Your weekend could be Thursday, Friday. Your weekend could be Sunday, Monday. Your weekend. So, what's your hump day? What's your weekend? Just the tip. Just the tip, eh? Hump day, just the tip. No, red-blooded American. He went balls deep. Attaboy. Is in the house and got laid today. Okay, everybody stand up and give the red-blooded American, give him the high five. All right, throw the high five up into the chat for the red-blooded American. He got laid today. Sales guy called me today. They're going to throw in warranty for free. It looks like they're making a deal. Making deal even sweeter. Okay. So more procrastination on the way, Rick. Here we go. More procrastination on the way. People have to stop giving you so many goddamn options and choices. Every time they sweeten the deal, it's another 3 days worth of procrastinating for you, bro. There you go. Thanks, Brian. Did a Wendy's review and Blue Jays pregame 3 yesterday, randomly for sure. And that's what I love. That's what I really, really like about you, Brian. I love the shit you're doing there. Although I'm not liking what's happening with Toronto and New York right now, right? Damn it. They're both tied. They're both tied for the American League East right now, and they're in the series playing right now. Was it game 3 yesterday, or is it game 3 coming up? Brian, you probably know better than I do. So no, it's game. I think it's game 3 that's coming up. The New York won yesterday, so they're forcing game 3. There we go. So I'm a little nervous about that. To be honest with you. If Toronto wins, New York will burn their own city down. If Toronto beats New York Yankees, you just watch. There will be fires and riots going on through New York. That's why I got my truck. Why I got a trucking my layovers and waiting for a load added up in a week. I was making $8 an hour, and yeah, I was working myself to the bone. And you know what, George? It's even worse when you're an owner operator, right? It really, really is, because when you're sitting there, and let's just say you've given them the 2 hours, and now you got to start billing the company for time. Chances are you're going to have to fight for some of that. Black Beauty, there it is, or a Benny. Thank you. Freeway for the win on that. Sorry, I didn't mean to jump on you there, but yeah, George, it's even worse when you're an owner operator, or company drivers are one thing, because they'll throw a couple bucks at a company. But for me, when my truck ain't rolling, it's not making any money. And if I have to stay on a load even longer than I'm supposed to, say I don't get loaded, or I don't get I make my appointment, but I'm still there for 8 hours. My company, I have to bill them for 6 hours, and then the company has to go back to the broker and try to get as many hours. So I'm not going to see that full 8 hours worth of, or that full 6 hours worth of pay. And there's always the arguing, the fighting, the da da da. When you average it all out, yeah, you are somewhere around $8 to $10 an hour, maybe $8 American, $10 Canadian. The white crosses and the yellow jackets were banned in the late 90s in the state. There you go. Hump Day, what the hell are you talking? Hump Day, Burr, whatever. Black Beauties. That's what they were called. Freeway, thank you very much. That's what they were called, Black Beauties. Today's big decision: sell everything and move to Costa Rica and live like a king, or hang out in North Carolina and live like a kind. Um, Dude, that's such a tough choice, Mr. Bees, because I'll be honest with you, a few years ago, during COVID or just before pre-COVID, I actually had to make those choices. And then when COVID hit and the mandates and all the restrictions and all the shit, um, you know, I looked at, okay, if sell the business, sell the house, sell the cars, sell everything. And yeah, I didn't look at Costa Rica, but I was looking like Panama, um, you know, areas down there, Argentina, places like that. I could sell everything that I owned and I could live very comfortably down there. And I chose, I obviously at the end chose not to do it, but there's that little back here in the back of my head going, maybe you should have, dude. Maybe you should have. White line fever. There you go. The proof. My husband's boyfriend loves your channel. Keep up the good work. My husband's boyfriend loves the channel. Your husband's a busy guy. Jesus. Hump day is looks like you haven't done that in decades. Oh, well, guess what? Guess what? The red-blooded American isn't the only one that was playing this morning. So on you. I've seen lots of drug abuse in Brazil. The drivers relied on it. Well, it's a lot of the same here. It really, really is. It's not relied upon. It's just habitual now. It's to the point where drivers are drinking all night long in the back of their truck. And I gave you the example the other day that I have a friend of mine that does it actively. Actively, he does it every single fucking night. That truck gets parked, and it doesn't matter what truck stop he's at. It didn't make any difference. We've been running or driving or whatever, and at the end of the day, we'll back in. He'll back in. I'll back in beside him. He'll drop he'll drop his driver's side window. I'll drop my passenger side window. You swivel your seat. You kick your feet up. You start shooting the shit and talking, and he's just like literally, one, two. And if you park the trucks at 7 o'clock, by 7:45, he's fucking loaded and he's still going. And I can guarantee you, if you end your day at 7 o'clock, you got your 10 hours off by 5 a.m., you're good to go. I'm telling you right now, his blood alcohol level is not legal. And I've had to make that decision of, do I report this? This is a really good friend of mine. So am I hurting my friend by reporting him? Or am I helping my friend by reporting him? It can go both ways, right? If he's got an addictions problem or he's got an alcohol problem, if I report him and I report the problem, am I helping him in the long run? Maybe he'll get into recovery. Maybe he won't. Maybe he'll go, fuck you, fuck the company. And 2 weeks later, he's doing it somewhere else. It's one of those where I've had to make that decision. Block me. This was recommended to you. We don't block anybody, Jorge. We do not block anybody. There's nobody on this channel that's blocked. Every day is a weekend. I love your thinking. Wednesday means I go running 4 miles with some friends and then go to my favorite restaurant afterwards. Well, I'll be happy to join you, Bruce, minus the running for 4 miles. I think it's absolutely, absolutely fucking hilarious that you'll see a big fat obese guy smoking 2 packs a day, eating everything he can lay his hands on, and he lives to be 90. And then you get some 45-year-old guy that is the epitome of health. He doesn't smoke. He's moderately drinking. He eats like a fucking champion. Da 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 da. He jogs. He goes to the gym, and he drops dead of a heart attack at 45. Like, more and more of that shit happens. Believe me. Why do you have a beard? I'm bearded for her pleasure, buddy. Time maker, bearded for her pleasure, buddy. Why am I wearing a Muslim cap? Why are you asking ridiculous questions? It's a fucking baseball hat. What's the matter with you people? Give your head a shake. The guy who towed my car makes nearly six figures. Yeah, there's guys out there that are doing like all those roadside guys. You know, the guys that they own maybe one truck or two trucks, and they're doing roadside road calls, middle of the night road calls, winter. Those guys there, if they live long enough, and their body can sustain the fucking the pace of life of having to do that, they make very good money. They really do. I know for a fact that having a trailer tire changed, the trailer tire is maybe $250, $300, and he's handing me a bill for $1,100. I don't know, man. No, don't get me wrong. I don't begrudge them. I put those guys there, those guys that do the emergency road calls for us guys that drive the trucks and the trailers. I put those guys in the same category as EMS. Like, just pay them because they're going to come out. You know, how many times do you see them out there and you've got the triangles out, you've got your four ways on, you've got your truck lit up to the best of your ability, and there's people that still will not move over. And this guy's trying to work at the side of, on the driver's side, so his back is to traffic. He can't even see it coming at him, and they're just zip, zip, zip. Tell me that ain't hard on the nerves. Mr. P, if I get a chance again, I'll be heading back to South America. Dude, if you do, just drop a couple pamphlets on me as you're going by. Rosy Palm, Brian? Rosy Palm? Not me. Let your friend make his own mistakes. That's how we learned. Checker six, yeah. At the end of the day, the decision of what I had to do. Here's I very much think like that in a lot of cases. You know what? Unless you're asking me for advice or you're asking me for help, I'm going to keep my mouth shut and you just do it your way. That's fine. But in a matter like this, I had to think about my own morals, and my own thinking that, let's just say that at 5 o'clock in the morning, we fire up our trucks, we go in, we get our coffee, we wash our face, whatever. But yet I know that his blood alcohol level is still not legal. And let's just say we go out on the highway and we're driving and he kills somebody, right? He kills somebody. And I knew that he shouldn't have been out there, and I could have prevented that. And now I got to live with myself for that, right? Those are the conversations, check our six, that I had to make. Those are the conversations that I had with myself at those times when that happened. Now, I know that he's still doing it today, but at the end of the day, I know that somebody else has made not reported it, but somebody else has gone to HR and the management of that company. And I know that they are aware of it, but it's one of those things, they got to catch you doing it. But how did they catch you doing it? They got to wait till the fucking guy rolls over a family of four in a car and kills them because he was impaired. It's one of those, it's a dilemma, right? It's a dilemma. Mr. B, I'm 46 and fucked because of driving. 11 Saint preferred the Brazilian lifestyle. I'll say I preferred the Brazilian lifestyle. Was that also the Brazilian waxing? Did you preferred that? You enjoyed the Brazilian? I've never had a Brazilian wax. I've never had a desire to try it. Snitch, you will gain one enemy. But you know what, checker six, I'd rather have one enemy. And again, I'm second guessing myself here. I'm talking over myself here because I didn't report it, right? But if it was today, right now, and this was happening right now, I would probably say something to at least him and say, listen, you didn't go to bed till fucking 11 o'clock or midnight last night. You've only had 5 hours of sleep. There's no way you should be driving. You need to keep it shut down for go back to bed for a couple more hours. I'll meet you down there or whatever. I should have at least said something to him. He may tell me to go fuck myself, but then that's his decision to make that choice to go on. I've already done my part. So I can maybe live with that. Should I have said something to go on? Snitch and you'll gain one enemy. Yeah. But you know what? I think at this point now, if it was today, I think I'd rather have one enemy and have a family of people alive, or have even one person who didn't get killed or maimed or horribly. You cripple somebody for life. That person, you've altered that person's life for the rest of their life. So it's one of those. I just, I know today, sitting here today, if this was a situation today, I know what I would do. I would take the enemy. I would report it. I would give the example. I would give the time frame. I would count I'd know how many beers the guy drank. Da da da. Da. I would. You know what? You want to call me a snitch? That's fine. But being a snitch, I know that it's going to keep him off the road, and somebody else may live through it. So, gotta go. See you later. Adios, ciao, Mr. B. Good to see you. Thanks for being here, man. Why do you have a beard? I know. You know what? You just got to roll with them, Checker Six. You just got to roll with. Always Saturday in my life. Well, you know what? Uh, we're not, we're not all sitting around and wearing wheel burner T-shirts like you are. He sent me a 2-4 sent me a really good picture the other day, but he sent me every time he puts on like my T-shirt or something like that. He sends me a selfie of it, right? Whatever pose he's in or whatever he's doing, and he looks sharp. But the guy never smiles. I sent him. I appreciated the picture; it was awesome. But it was, I always send back. It's like, why do you look like the most miserable fucker I've ever seen? Like, would it kill you to smile? Really? You guys ready for what's that? Palantir? The old trucker bank freeze is going to look like freedom. I don't know what you're talking about, dial up. I don't know what you're talking about. Palantir. I don't know. Nikki Lee, good to see you. You went live last night again, babe. I was in bed. I was done. I saw your notification this morning when I got up. No, I got up. I got up about 4:30 this morning. I saw your notification, but what time you went live last night? Is too late for this, cowboy. I'm sorry. I'm usually up anywhere between 4:30 in the morning. So like, I'm going to bed at last night we laid in bed, and we were watching TV, and I don't know, it was probably what, about 9:45, 10 o'clock, and it's like, nope, bedtime. When I start falling asleep while watching an episode of NCIS or what was what we were watching last night, you turn it off. There's no sense fighting it to stay awake to watch something you're falling asleep to anyway. So yeah, it probably had to be quarter to 10, 10 o'clock when we went to bed last night. So from 4 o'clock, actually yesterday, we were both up at 3:30. So 3:30 yesterday morning till 10 o'clock last night. I'm old, fuckers, right? I'm not, I don't run for 20 hours a day anymore. I can't do that. So, Nikki Lee, I apologize. I would have been there. I would have viewed. I would have been in your chat. I would have been sassing you, um, but I wasn't. Sorry. I'll get you, though. Oh, excuse me. The athletes who die at a young age generally have some underlying health problems, such as PEDs, or they had some kind of heart problems. No, Bruce Wayne, that's a good point as well. And if you look at truck drivers, they're not exempt from all that shit as well. If you were you grew up as a kid and you had a heart issue, or you had lung issues, or you had whatever issues like that, compound that with the truck driver's lifestyle. It's tough to work your way through. Um, Ann Graham, good to see you. Thanks for being here. I have a point there. I have a point there. I think, what are you saying? You have a point there? I don't know. I don't know. He's a safety hazard. Report him. I get that. He's a friend. No, Bruce Wayne, you're absolutely right. Back then, I know what I should have done and I didn't. Bad on me. My bad call. That was a bad judgment call on my. If it was happening today, I'd be fucking reporting it, documenting it, da 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 da. And if you decide that I'm the biggest dick in the world and you're going to hate my guts because I did this to you and maybe put a crimp in your trucking career, then you know what? So be it. Because somewhere down the line, somebody else is going to be alive and walking around and going home to their family because you're off the road. That's just the way it is. But I agree with you, Bruce, 100%. After what you just said, I think I would probably take the enemy myself. And, I would. I'd rather have somebody hate my guts because, they can't drive their truck anymore, um, rather than have to hear about that he wiped out a family of 4 and there's 4 people and it's going to affect 60 other people. So, Andrew B., good to see you. How are you, man? I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. The brain and the mouth seem to be working they're cooperating today. They seem to be working pretty well today. I don't smile much either. I'm not a miserable person. I just don't show much facial expressions. Well, you know what? I'm pulling 2-4's leg. He knows that I'm just fucking ripping him. He knows that I'm just pulling his leg and bullshitting with him. He's not a miserable man. I've spoken to him on the phone. I've never got the impression that 2-4 is miserable in any way, shape, or form. It's just the picture. It's almost like he's posing for a prison picture. That first face on prison picture of. So he's got that look, and he's got my T-shirt on, and with the one he was sending me, he was laying back like this sitting back like this in a lawn chair. So it's just Jesus Christ, man. At least smile. Messi or Ronaldo? I don't. You know what? Don't know. Football elite? I don't know. Don't know. Don't care. Which truck you prefer, Messi or Ronaldo? I'm not a football guy in the sense of European football or a North American soccer. I'm not. I don't follow soccer. I don't watch. I know who Messi is and I know who Ronaldo is, but I could not tell you what position they play, what team they play for, or who the better player is. I've heard truck drivers are notorious for having health problems. Oh, dude, they are. Blood clots, heart issues, emphysema, smoke. Think about this, and I was guilty of this for years. Right, my diet sucked because I was always eating at truck stops, fast food, bullshit like that, and still until I started changing that and preparing meals or preparing food and taking it into my truck and eating out of my truck. Smoking, smoking is the biggest one for us. Because one of the biggest ones for us, because you've got Buck, you smoke, and I smoke, but I don't drive. But Buck, you smoke. How many cigarettes, Buck Brown, would you smoke on a 600? If you had to do 600 miles today, you woke up this morning, you were already loaded. It was just a driving day. You didn't have to pick up today, and you didn't have to deliver today. So 600 miles is very reasonable. You can easily do 600 miles. You're going to drive, you're going to take your 30-minute break, and then you're going to drive. How many cigarettes are you going to smoke? You're going to easily, I can guarantee you are going to easily smoke more than a pack of cigarettes, because you're pretty much, and this is the way I was, you're lighting one off another, right? One, dab it out, you're smoking another one. That one's done, light another one, dab it out. Some of that is just boredom. Some of that is just to keep yourself occupied, your hands moving. It's one of those goddamn things. Smoking is really a big issue for our lungs and our and shit like that, and diabetes. You go and ask. I don't know. I don't know what the percentage is. Okay, I don't know. There's got to be somewhere that you can Google, or there's got to be somewhere out there where they will actually probably have the statistics of what what percentage of truck drivers suffer from diabetes, type 1 or 2 or whatever. But I guarantee you diabetes is massive in the trucking industry for truck drivers. Maybe not so much now as it was, say, 10, 15, 20 years ago. Maybe not so much now, but it's still up there because we just, and again, I'm guilty of it. I've got, food in my truck, but I've got a bag of chips, 3 chocolate bars, a whole great big bag of Twizzlers, and I'm just munching on it all day fucking long. And then I'll park the truck the end of the night and eat my healthy dinner, right? Meanwhile, I've just consumed 3,500 calories worth of crap, and I've drank what? 5 Dr. Peppers, 6 Dr. Peppers. The sugar intake and consumption is off the scales a lot of the time with truck drivers, and not everyone. There is a percentage of truck drivers that are healthy. These guys are out there. They're keeping fit. They don't smoke. They're eating properly. They're doing regular exercise. But that's not the norm, man. That's not the norm. I don't care if it's popular or not to do the right thing. I agree with you, Buck. I see something we should say. If I see something, we should say something. It's the right thing to do. Today, Buck, yes, I agree. And I'm just sitting here saying to you, and I openly admit to you, back then I made the wrong call. I did. I made the wrong call. Luckily, and I say luckily, he hasn't killed anybody. Now, I don't know the status of this guy because I have not driven with him in a few years. I know where he's working. Okay. I know where he's working and I know the job he's doing. Um, and I know that he hasn't killed anybody or had, because I would have heard about it from other people that I know that are associated with him as well. But I know that that hasn't happened. So I don't know. Maybe something's been said, something's been done. Maybe, you know, I don't know. I don't know. George, got to go. Great day. Have a great day. Stay safe. I will be back again. Well, you know what, George, appreciate that, man. Stroke the like button on your way out for me. Easily a pack a day to a pack and a half. There you go. And again, Buck, you know, it's just out of pure. And for me, even today, like even at home here, you know, if I see, you know, Buck, if you were to call me, like say after the live, and I'm downstairs and I'm whatever, doing whatever, right? As soon as you call me, the first thing I do is I grab my cigarettes, I throw one in my mouth, and I go out back and I'll answer the phone and say, "Hey, Buck, how's it going?" And I'll light a smoke. For some reason, with me, it's just get on. As soon as I get on the phone, I light a smoke. It's like after sex smokes, right? You got to have a smoke after sex, whatever. But I'm guilty of that. I'm guilty of that. And then when I'd be in the truck, if I was talking to you on the phone and say we drove for, you know, 2 hours, we were talking for 2 hours, I can probably guarantee you in 2 hours I'm going to smoke a minimum of 10 to 15 cigarettes in 2 hours just because I'm on the phone. Blah blah blah. That is just, you know, it's one of those habitual things that we do that, you know, we have to stop, but we choose not to. I started with blood clots, then a heart attack, then severe heart failure. That's when doctors took my class 1. Well, maybe you should have stopped at the blood clots. And I'm guilty of that as well. You know, I ended up with blood clots. I ended up with 4 in my left leg and I ended up with 2 in my left lung. And that didn't stop me. That didn't stop me. That probably should have, or at least I should have slowed down too far, you know, started to back off or back out of it. I didn't. Karen, good to see you. Karen Manthorm, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for being here. It's always a pleasure to see you. It's always a pleasure to have you. Hopefully you're doing well. Hopefully Al's all right. I know you guys are winding up for the big trip out east, but there you go, Karen.
Karen Manthorn. When she's not cooking up a storm, she's serving it up hot on the Wheel Burner Express.
There you go, Karen, just for you, babe. Love having you here. You're one of my favorite people in the world, Karen. You and Al. 2-4. That's why we're here now. Dr. Wheelburner's home for fucked up drivers. Yeah, that's what we're doing. We're just out here trying to straighten out some drivers. No, we're not. You know, we're not out here trying to straighten drivers out. If there's anything we can do out here to maybe help drivers, whether you're a long-term driver, a 30-year veteran, or whether you're just a new driver coming out of school, you know, I don't have all the answers, but Buck Brown's in here. He's been doing it a long freaking time. Freeway, he did it a long time. Crag Rat, there's European driving experience. We won't really count that. It doesn't count. But he's got some wheel time. You know, if we don't have the answers to somebody else, we can find somebody who does, right? So Karen's saying hi to everybody. Look at that. And with a lot of me, I don't know what I'm as good as shape as I'm still. Come on, Buck. Come on. If you had to run, okay, put it this way. If you see me running, Buck, if you see me running, don't ask any questions. Turn your ass around and start running in the same direction as I am because something horrible is coming. That is the only way that I will run. That is the only way that I will run. Because if I had to run from here down to the end of my driveway and back, there better be oxygen and paddles sitting on my porch when I get back, because Victoria is going to be throwing the mask on me and going clear and jolting me back to life. And that's a result of poor eating, poor diet, poor exercise, smoking. Luckily for me, and I don't drink, so I don't have the alcohol or the drugs. I don't play with that aspect of the trucking industry. But Buck, you know it. Yukon Bub, good to see you, man. You know it. Drugs and alcohol run rampant in this trucking industry. Um, I don't have that, but everything else, I do. And at my age, not that I'm going through it, I'm going to it voluntarily, though. No, there you go. At my age now, at 55, I'm slowly, very slowly. I'm not in a fucking hurry. I'm not pushing myself to the point where I'm going to hurt myself, but I'm slowly, taking care of some things physically, so that physically, that I'm in a little better shape. And I find myself personally, when I'm in better physical shape and I'm feeling better, and instead of having aches and pains everywhere from my shoulders down to my knees, if I've only got a couple aches and pains here and there, it also affects my mental state. I'm in a better mental state. I'm in a better mood. I'm happier. If you're not in constant pain, right? If you're living your life and you are at some point or another, some part of you is always hurting, whether it be your sciatic, or your upper back, or your shoulders, or your knees, or your hips, or whatever it is. If you've got constant pain, you know what? You first of all, you're going to learn to live with it, and your body, your brain will adapt, almost to the point where your brain will shut some of that off because it's just there and it's normal. But that's not a good way to live. So if you can adjust some of that so that you're not in constant pain, maybe if you're only in a little bit of pain here and there, if you do certain things, I would rather live with that than being in constant pain. And when you can get yourself into a better frame of mind, or you can get yourself into a better mental state because of that, why would you not want to add that to your life? So that's kind of what I'm doing right now. Am I out doing physical exercise, going to the gym, lifting weights, doing? Fuck no. Absolutely not. If you see me in the gym, somebody drugged me, knocked me out, and put me in there and took the pictures, because that's not me. You'll never see me in a gym. You'll never see me in a sweatsuit jogging up the road. You'll never see any of that kind of shit. But I am doing other things, small things that help help my back, help my hips, help my knees. Those kind of things. A lot of where I am in my life is also mental. You know what? I can get myself into a much better mental. I'm much better I'm in a much better mental condition, and a mental place and spiritual place, just coming out of that truck, selling that. I'm no longer an owner operator driving a truck. I no longer have those stresses. I no longer have those issues. I no longer have any of that. When I removed that, believe me, it was like a fucking weight coming off my shoulders. And I know, again, I'm going to use Buck Brown as an example. I can tell you right now, when Buck ain't too far, he ain't too far out himself. I guarantee goddamn to you, when Buck hits the right time between his age and the dollar value sale of his truck, money in the bank, when he hits that right time, that truck that Peterbilt he's gone is gone. He'll be out of it so fast. All you're going to see is his 5'2" little ass running through the countryside, because you know what? It's the same thing. Owner operators, it's very stressful. You suffer anxiety. You know, why would I want to add that much more to my life rather than being a company driver? Brian, I'm just a part-timer compared to you guys. Well, dude, I'm a no-timer, right? I'm a no-timer. I'm not driving a truck, and I don't plan to drive truck in the foreseeable future, if I don't absolutely have, short of the market crashing, and economics going to shit in a handbasket, and I'm fixed, and I'm forced to go back to work. You're not going to see me driving a truck. What is or would be more valuable than one's health? Rage character, man. I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree. Your health should be first and foremost. I'm not preaching to the choir. Believe me, I believe that. Do I practice it? Not always. Absolutely not. I am not as healthy as I probably could be. But then, fucking who of us are? Absolutely, who of us are? Deep vein thrombosis isn't uncommon in marathon runners. It's not the marathons or the high training causes it. It's associated with sitting for prolonged periods when they travel. Bruce Wayne, what do you think? Why do you think truck drivers are absolutely riddled with that? Okay, we are probably higher in a higher category of suffering from that than any other industry in the world. Maybe airline pilots or whatever, but at least a pilot while he's flying can throw the autopilot on, get up and walk around this and that. When you push hard, and this is how I used to operate, okay? I would just say I'm in the US, I'm already loaded. I've got a driving day. I will set a goal that, and I know for a fact if it's just a driving day, I'm doing 600 miles minimum. That truck don't fucking stop until I cross the 600-mile mark. So I'm going to drive. I'm going to drive for 4 hours, take my 30-minute break, forced because I'm on an e-log, take my 30-minute break, and then I am going to run like a bat out of hell until my clock says you are done. That means I have literally sat in that driver's seat for 11 hours. 11 hours during the 30-minute break when they say, oh, you're supposed, realistically, it wouldn't kill you to get out of the truck, maybe walk around a few times. If you're in a rest area, take a walk, take your dog, fuck, whatever. But if you go into the rest area and you watch, or the truck stops and you watch guys that you figure are in there for the 30-minute break, if you see a guy in the middle of the day and he's got a load on his trailer and he's sitting there in the middle of the day waiting, chances are he's just there doing a 30. And what's he doing? I guarantee he's sitting in the driver's seat and he's doing this. He's just looking at his phone, right? So you are 11 hours, you are sitting there in your driver's seat. And I do it by choice because I push that hard. That's how hard I push, right? I am greedy. I love money. And when it's my truck and it's my load and it's my livelihood, nothing gets in the way. If the law says that this is the bare minimum, I'm giving you just the bare minimum and I am stretching it. So I will sit for 11 hours. And you know what? Blood clots. That's how you get them. You drive 11 hours a day, 6 days a week, 5 days a week, and then and then even then the guys, like me that have done resets out on the road. Buck, when you do a reset out on the road, how much time of that reset are you in your truck? You in the US, you only got to do 34. In Canada, you got to do 36. So if you're doing your 34-hour reset, you might get out, you got to go in, maybe do some laundry. That's fine. You got to, go to a restaurant, grab something to eat. That's fine too. But in 34 hours, I promise you, 34 out of those 34 hours, probably 25 of them, you're just sitting in your fucking truck, watching TV, looking at your phone, checking out your iPad, um, you know, entertaining yourself or watching Pornhub. That's what you're doing. Is that healthy? Hell no. From what I've heard, truckers always have back and hip problems. Yeah, back problems, lower back problems from like the mid back down to the spine. Sciatic runs rampant with truck drivers, right? Sciatic, they suffer absolutely. Like I've got sciatic that runs down both. I don't just have one side. I've got sciatic that runs both, right from the lower back right through both ass cheeks, right down the back of my legs into the back, almost into the back of my knees. Why? Because of the way I used to drive my truck. A good portion of it is the reason I used to drive my truck like that. I would not get out of that truck because my thinking at that time for business is if this truck is not moving, it's not making money, and I like money, and I drove the wheels off the goddamn truck. That sounds awful. Well, it's not great. Maybe it's not so bad at the time when you're doing it, but when you get to be my age now, you pay for it, man. And I don't mean with dollars and cents. You pay for it physically. You know, I need I need some work done to this body that unfortunately at my age I'm too young. Believe that bullshit, right? I'm too young. I need a knee replacement. I need a hip replacement. I need a couple of surgeries on my lower back. But they won't do. I'm 55. They're not going to do a knee replacement. Why? Because in 10 years at 65, they're going to have to do it again. So they're not going to do it now. They're telling you, well, you hold on as long as you can, and as long as that knee keeps working, you keep going. Yeah, it hurts. Take some pills. But no, they're not replacing the same with the hip. They're not going to replace a hip, whereas 10 years from now or 8 years from now, they're going to have to replace it again. So I got to wait. Now, the back surgeries, yeah, I could probably get those done anytime. But then literally, I'm going to be flat on my back for 8 months. You got to go through rehab and learn to walk, all that kind of bullshit again. And at this stage of my life, do I want to dedicate that much time? No. That's me in size. That may be stupid. Maybe I should. I don't know. I will be sitting for 16 to 18 hours tomorrow. Well, Karen, I would suggest this. Give all the truck drivers a fucking thrill. Okay. Put on your sundress, put the seat back as far as it goes, take your shoes off, and put your feet up on the dash. There's two reasons for that. One, you're going to give all the truck drivers a thrill. And the second is at least you've got your legs out and extended, and you've got much, much, much better blood flow. And your legs and your hips probably will not ache as much. For us, it's because we're in a sitting position with our legs dangling or hanging, and it's the front edge of the seat that's pushing into the back of your leg just above your knee that gives the poor circulation, and the proper amount of blood flow doesn't make it down to your feet, down to your legs, and then work its way back up, and that's how you get blood clots. Why am I dressed like a teenager? I don't know. Am I dressed like a teenager? Is that what you see when you look at this? How many teenagers are this goddamn good looking? I don't know about you, Podger. I don't know, but this is smoking. Like, I love Canadian energy. Got the hat on. The only reason I wear it backwards is because if I put it on like this, my glasses kind of bounce around, so I just kind of wear it like that. If that's what you think, and I'm looking like a teenager, well, you know what? I've yet to see a goddamn teenager that's as sexy as this is. Thanks for coming out. Driving earth movers up and down the mine road will number your days. Well, Christy, all those guys as well. It's not just the truck drivers, but all those guys that are doing on the road crews, doing the constructors, they're driving the pavers, the graders, all of that. Some of those guys are in those cabs or in those seats, 12, 13, 15, 16, 17 hours a day. If you're in a mine, I don't know what the rules and regulations are for working in a mine. I don't have a goddamn clue. So you could be upwards of, 18, 19 hours. So yeah, I would absolutely 100% agree with you. Earth movers up and down the mine road. Absolutely. Probably ridiculous. Driving European cab overs for years screws your back up. Dude, it's not just the cab overs. It's all of them. Cab overs I can see, yeah, because you're literally sitting you got the engine and the transmission right below you, but you've also got the steer tire and steer axle pretty much right below you as well. So are you taking bumps and whatnot a little harder than say you would on a longer nose truck where maybe it's got a setback axle as well? Yeah, do those trucks absorb the bumps and the pounding a little better than maybe a cab over does? I would say, but you know what? In Europe, you guys are what? I think we were talking about this the other day. In Europe, a good day driving for you guys in Europe is what? 350, 400 miles? Dude, that's not a full day work for me, right? It's not uncommon for me on just driving days for me to tap out 600, 650, 700 miles. And if I'm in Canada, I've got a whole different set of driving rules available to me. I don't have to take a 30-minute break, and I can drive for 13 hours. Look the fuck out. That's an 800-mile day, dude. As long as I don't hit traffic or bad weather or anything like that. But if it's just a nice, clear, beautiful summer day and you're going across the prairies, let's say once you cross into Manitoba and get fucking west of Winnipeg, dude, I can run the Trans Canada with the speed limits that they have there. If I start in Winnipeg, I can run a 750, 800-mile day. It can be done. You're going to pay for it. Your body's going to pay for it, but you can do it. Friend, I knew a woman who had both knees done and she was 80. Find another doctor. Oh, she was 80. Well, that's probably why they did it, because at 80, she'll probably never have to get it done again. Christy, if I do it now at 55, they're going to be doing it again at 60, at 65, maybe 70, right? Your friend that had it done at 80, I don't want to wish any bad harm or bad luck or bad karma, but at 80 years old, I think those knees are probably safe, for 10 years. That, and at 80 years old, how active is she? Right? She's not as active as, say, somebody at 55 would be. When are we conquering Canada? Tell you what, Jack, come on up and give it a shot. See how that works out for you. Oh, hell, Brian, if I did that, I might either scare them or cause an accident. Well, you know what? Hey, dude, Karen, if you end up causing an accident, that means you still got it, baby. That's what it means. It means you still got it. I miss doing those kind of miles when I had paper lugs. Oh, Buck, come on, we all do. Buck, how many times in your life have you broken 1,000 miles in a shot? How many times in your life have you broken the 1,000-mile? I can't say that I did it very often, but I can tell you in my career, I've broken 1,000 miles in a shot in a day. Simple as that. But on paper, you cannot do that. You can't do that with an e-log. Believe me. Yeah, but the roads are smaller here, Brian, and we can legally run 9 or 10 hours. No, that's what I'm saying. You guys are limited, but that's why Crag Rat, you and Robert, like if you ever came over here and got in our trucks and say you were running the Canadian east-west Canadian corridors, or you'd say the east-west and even some of the north-south corridors in the U.S., dude, you'd think you'd won the fucking lottery. Get the truck up to 70 miles an hour, hit the cruise control, and forget about it. What should I do? Guns and gaming? I don't know what you should do. Tell you what, don't let your dick run your life. It's as simple as that. Wake up tomorrow morning and I want you to have the first thought in your head going, don't let your dick run your life. After that, you can figure out the rest. So she's at 80 years old. She's very active. Well, you know what? Good on her. I hope to God at 80 years old, I'm active. I understand there will be minimal resistance. You guys don't know the problems that you would have if you tried to invade Canada. And it's not because of the fight back or the pushback that we would give. It's the simple that the country is just too goddamn big, and the cities, the metropolitan cities that you guys would need to take over are too far apart. The logistics of invading a country the size of Canada, think about that. I'm not saying that you couldn't, but the cost to you and what it would do, it's not fucking worth it. It's not. All of our major cities are not just, it's not like you go on the East Coast, you got New York City, you got Newark, New Jersey, you got Baltimore, Maryland, you got fucking, Norfolk, Virginia, you got, Myrtle Beach. It doesn't work that way. We don't have cities that are all clumped together except for the Southern Ontario region. Other than that, like I'm in Calgary. Edmonton is the next largest city. It's the capital city, and it's 3 hours, so it's 185 or 100. No, it's about 190 miles, closer to 200 miles north of me. Now that's not a big jump, but now the next major city that you would have to conquer then would have to be Vancouver or Victoria, BC. That's not just down the road. That's not just 200 miles away. Or if you're going east, you're going to have to go into Regina or Saskatoon. Again, the distance between the major metropolitan cities that you would have no choice but to have to go in and conquer and take over, it's been suggested to be very difficult to do. It's, because they've played the war games. They've played the games of, the U.S. military has played the games, and they've openly said it would be very, very costly. Especially, we've got our winters up here. You think you're going to do all of this in the month of June? Good fucking luck with that. I can't count enough times that I've done that. Well, you know what, Buck? I'll be honest with you. I can't. I probably can't. But I'm not going to say it's been 10 or 15 or 20 times, because it hasn't. It's probably been one hand that I've broken the 1,000-mile barrier in one shot. I know that I paid a price for it, the next day or for a couple of days thereafter. Why does Canada hate Americans? We don't hate Americans. I don't hate Americans. Christy, I'll be 100% honest with you that I've spent probably a better portion of my life in the United States as a Canadian, just from being a truck driver and being a cross-border driver. I've been to all of the states, with the exception of Hawaii and Alaska. I like the U.S. Most of my friends, Buck Brown's here. He's U.S. Freeways from the U.S. Crag Rat doesn't. He's from England. So, but I have no choice but to like him just because he's from England. I don't get the choice in that matter. But a good portion of my friends are from the U.S. and I got no problem with that. I don't think Canadians hate the U.S. people. I think Canadians are very much like the Canadians of our own government. We despise the government and the way that the government is spending our money. And I'm talking about U.S. The way the government spends your money, frugally or not frugally, stupidly, and they just throw it out there. Now, don't get me wrong. Trump's making some changes. He's made some changes and this and that. But in the big picture of the whole thing, like say in the last 10 years, nobody hates American people. I hate American politics. I hate American lawmakers. It's the same in my own country. I hate Canadian politicians. I don't vote for the one I like the most. I vote for the one I dislike the least. Simple as that, man. Really easy like that. So no, Canadians don't hate Americans. I already shook my hooters in the La Fontaine tunnel at some idiot who tried racing with us. He almost went off the road. You don't by chance have a picture of that, do you? I'm asking for a friend. They hate America because they don't have access to our palm trees and no guns to take them. Well, Jack, I can live without palm trees. You come on up to Canada. I don't know, Jack Sparrow, if you've ever been up here, if you've been to Canada and you've explored Canada from coast to coast, and look, we've got some of the most beautiful country you're ever going to see in your entire life up here. And there's nobody here. We got the second largest country in North America, square mile wise, and there's only 47 million of us. The state of California has more people than my entire country does. There's nobody here. You can come up here and tap all of this wild, untapped beauty, and it's yours to discover and to see and everything like that. So, do I give a flying fuck about palm trees? Not really. I've seen palm trees. I've been down to the Caribbean. I've seen palm trees. Palm trees, there's nothing so great to shake a stick out of palm trees. And about the guns, yeah, the government yelled at us and you took all your guns and you're only allowed to have these guns, and that has to be for hunting or whatever. And yes, did they take our guns? Yes. But don't kid yourself for a minute, Jack. Just because they took them doesn't mean we don't have them. Just because we're not supposed to have them doesn't mean that we don't have them. You take that and think of that however you want. So are Canadians these helpless little people up here that, they took their guns, they've got, they got their stupid government, they got snow, they live in igloos, they have pet penguins, they wrestle polar bears. Give your head a shake. We are not a helpless nation. We are not poor by any means, and we are not stupid, and we are not defenseless. Do you believe the United States right now is being being run by a man with dementia that poops his pants? Ex pedophile. You know what? I'm not making comments. I don't want to go down this road today. I really do. Um, I don't want to go down the political tunnel or go off the rails on the politics today. I prefer not to. Like we're doing all right today. I really don't need to be in the political forum. We're doing some really good talk. We're doing some really good talking here. My dick needs to be fed daily. Love that. Well, you need to be in West Virginia and Virginia more often. Find yourself a route that just puts you in Virginia and West Virginia all the time. Christy, just two. What the hell are you talking about, Christy? Buck Brown, the good old days of two logs. Yeah, exactly. Just two. Now, here's a testament to maybe Buck and the difference between Buck and I. I could do all that illegal shit, all I needed to do, and I could do it with two logbooks. If you need that third book, I don't know. I never needed a third book to get what I had to get done. And I guarantee you, Buck, I pushed as hard as you did. Absolutely pushed as hard as you did. I've done 34 hours straight a few times plowing snow, all exempt around here for snow operating. Yeah, same here, right? If you're driving a snow vehicle, a truck, a salter, or anything like that, you're exempt. It falls under up here too far. It falls under AG agriculture, right? Which technically all falls under the umbrella of farming. I don't see how laying salt down on the road qualifies as farming, but it all falls under that kind of umbrella. I'm from South Florida. Well, we won't hold that against you. Got to go, guys. Starting to make dinner. Craig Rett, good to see you, brother. We can call North Canada Montana, and Quebecers will be renamed Greater Louisiana. You know what? I'll be honest with you. Let's just say in a million fucking years that you guys come up and take over Canada, I promise you right now, you won't be renaming fucking Quebec Greater Louisiana. You'll just be sending them packing. You won't even want them. They're gone. Bye bye. 2-4 later, Bog. Yeah, okay. We'll see you guys later. My eyes are damn blurry today. Sorry, 2-4. Military and immigration checkpoints coming to a town near you. Today, Chicago, tomorrow, Baltimore, and next, martial law. Dude, you know what? At this point in my life, at 55 years old, from what I've seen, I can honestly sit here and tell you, and I say this with all honesty, nothing would surprise me. Nothing. If this live stream got shut down right now and all of a sudden these news things were coming up that what you're talking about is that's what they're doing. They're rolling out the fucking National Guard, or they're rolling it, and this is what's going to happen. We're going to have martial law. I would sit here for about 5 minutes and go, holy shit. And then I'd start thinking about how the fuck I'm going to live my life and get around it. Racial profiling is now legal in the United States. Do you have a Fourth Amendment wake up white people? We don't have amendments in Canada. Not like per se that you do. We have a I don't even know I'm not drawing a blank. I can't remember what we do. What we have. But we do have something very similar to your amendments. But our government at times have walked all over it. Like our freedom of speech rights are trampled as people, as Canadians. The government can absolutely do what they want when they want when it comes to freedom of speech, and you can be jailed for your speech now. In my humble opinion, Nova Scotia is God's country, is wildlife to enjoy, and soft sands, beaches, and forests to enjoy and explore. I can agree with that. I've been to Nova Scotia many times. That whole end of the country is one of my favorite places to be. I'll be honest with you though, and I'm not being biased because I live here. Alberta to me is where it's at. I've got everything out here. The only thing I don't have is the ocean or the beaches, but we've got lakes and we've got beaches. But I've got beautiful prairies. I've got beautiful mountains. Like I've on my monitors all around right now. I'm not using 2 out of the 4 monitors. We've got like beautiful scenes of the Canadian Rocky Mountains, and they're absolutely stunning. And then when you go up to them, you go up to Canmore, go up to Banff, go up to Jasper, go up to Whistler, go to these places and check it. You'll go up there and you will never want to leave. Every time Victoria and I go up into the mountains, we have to tear ourselves out of there. We went up to Jasper to my daughter's place, and we spent, I think, 3 days in Jasper. And Victoria and I were getting into the car, looking around, going, "Do we have to go? Really?" So, yeah. Okay, I'm not going to do it as long as she typed it, but it's like woohoo. Just got loaded in Tennessee, hustling. Hustle that money, but be safe, man. Be safe. Many of us out there, many guys and girls are out there hustling, but they're not being safe about it. Good on you, Shannon. Where you going? You're probably not going home, but where are you going? When are you going to be there? What time are you going to be there? Shannon, send me your text me your bloody email address. Well, I don't think I have it, or I used to have it, but it went from one computer. Now I have a new computer, and for some reason there was that, and then I think I even had it in my phone, but for some reason I've gone through everything that I've got. I don't have your email address. Do not put your email address up here. But if you don't mind, and you don't mind me having your email, just text it to me or email it to me at wheelburnerexpress@gmail.com. Just send it to me. Been to Canada. I now dislike the snow and poutine is overrated. Vinegar and mayo for fries was pretty cool though. You like that? Vinegar and my girl, she eats mayo on her fries. I just shake my head, roll my eyes, and go, ugh. Like, no. No, 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 no. We do not put fucking I put vinegar, like malt vinegar, salt, and I'll dip it in ketchup. We do not put mayo. Victoria is a mayo girl. That is absolutely gross. Poutine is overrated. Well, I'm going to tell you this. You didn't go. You tell me where you went. You got the poutine. Okay. You guys call it poutine, and a lot of Western provinces and other, but it's actually pronounced poutine. You tell me where you got it. Binary Ghost, what province were you in that you got it? Or what city were you in when you got your poutine? BSN is screaming, I'm inside your walls and I'm feeling freaky. I tell you what, man, come on in. If you're feeling freaky and you're in the walls, I'm sitting right here. Come get it. Get as freaky as you want. You may come in the house through the walls, but you'll go out on your back. You'll need 911. America is under invasion from within. The man in the high tower is a pedophile. You know what, man? I don't know that, and I'm not commenting on that. Dude, the way the world of politics works is they're gonna fucking somebody on one side is gonna say something at a low level and just put it out there, and then it'll get built up until so. Come on, man. Come on now. Unless he gets caught with a child, under the desk of the White House, think about what you're saying. Who has proof of that? Who has proof of that? You're going to Gainesville, Georgia, one of my favorite states. One of my favorite states. The West Virginia, Georgia, Tennessee, Kentucky, a little south, get to Alabama. Love that whole part of the country. I also enjoy, in the spring and summer, I also enjoy getting out, in the Midwest. But a lot of the U.S. Southern states, especially that area, South Carolina, North Carolina, South Carolina, West Virginia, that whole, love it. Absolutely love it. Ontario is as far of Canada that I've seen. Want to see Rocky Mountains before I die. Karen, you guys figure out how to get out here, man. And Victoria and I will take you we'll take you anywhere you want to go. You can go to Canmore, which is gorgeous. And the farther into the interior of the mountains you go to Banff, which is, I think, only like 20 miles farther than Canmore. And then if you want to drive another 2.5 hours, we can go up to Jasper, and you are literally sitting in the bowl. And there's mountains all the way around. It's fucking phenomenal. You come on out here and we will take you there. Poutine ain't it. You know what? I disagree. I love it. I had to back off eating it because it's basically an artery killer, right? I've eaten poutine before where I knew that I was going to be laying in bed in about 3 hours, holding my chest like this, going, okay, if I can just make it through the night, because it was so goddamn good. I love poutine. I like malt vinegar on fish and chips. So do I. Malt vinegar on fish and chips, with a little bit of salt, no pepper. I usually put pepper on everything, but I like a little bit of salt. But it has to be malt vinegar. It can't be white vinegar. Malt vinegar. And I prefer to make my own tartar sauce. I don't usually like whatever they're serving or whatever. But there's a couple of restaurants that we eat at where their tartar sauce ain't bad, and I do order the fish and chips. Yeah, Stephanie knows what's up with the malt vinegar. Exactly. That's the way to eat fish and chips. It's also what I eat with French fries. If I'm eating French fries, I use malt vinegar. I don't use regular vinegar. 2-4, it's also the friendliest province out of the East Coast. At this time of life, who would want to be in the military in the United States or even work government? I can't think of anybody. I can't think of anybody. If back in the day, you used to think about it. Now you say, back in the day, whatever. Back in the day, 25, 30, think about when you were coming out of high school. When I was coming out of high school, it was 1987, for fuck's sakes. If you landed yourself a government job, you had a job for life. You were secure for life. You had a government, you knew that you were going to retire, at 50 years old, and you would have a nice pension. You'd be retired, blah, 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 blah. Now, are you out of your fucking mind? I would rather work in a coal mine than be a government worker today. Your wife puts mayo on fries too. Isn't that disgusting? Oh, that's disgusting. That's absolutely gross. Muhammad was a pedo. Oh, come on. Dude, let's knock this shit off, okay? Let's knock the pedo talk off. Let's knock this shit off. I'm not reading. You guys can put it in. I'm just not going to read them. Kentucky is amazing. The mountains or the hills, they're not really technically mountains, but they are hills. Yeah, you get up to Kentucky bluegrass, you get some beautiful, beautiful. Kentucky has some really beautiful places in it. They also have like you go to Louisville, right? That's a shithole. That's a fucking come on. Anybody that's driving truck, you knows that you're driving through Louisville. It's a dumpster fire. I cannot handle the smell of vinegar. I rarely use ketchup for fries. Oh man, malt vinegar and Heinz ketchup. Heinz ketchup. Got to be Heinz. If you think about it, the only geography the state of Georgia doesn't have is desert. You're right. You're right. You got ocean, you got beach, you got hills. I guess you wouldn't say you don't have mountains like mountains, but you got plains. Yeah. I guess you don't have you don't have desert. I don't think Canada has a desert. I'm pretty sure we don't have any deserts. Yeah. Is vinegar bad? Corn pop? No, vinegar is delicious on French fries and fish and chips. Would I fucking put it in a glass and drink it? Hell no. Also was in Montreal for a brief stay, and also some town called Chicoutimi. You notice how I knew how to say that? Chicoutimi. I also think French is a made-up language. How they write a word and how they pronounce that word has to be a prank. Binary ghosts, let me tell you something. I'm Canadian, lived here all my life, raised here, born here, fucking whatever. And I think that about French. Okay. Now, right now, Victoria is probably listening to me, and Victoria is fluent in French, and she's rolling her eyes and going, Brian, you are absolutely ignorant. And in this case here, I will take that. Absolutely 100%. Like, we are a bilingual country. We have two official languages, English and French, and I could care less about learning French. Unfortunately, I do know a little bit because because of my business, I've had to go into the province of Quebec, or even parts of western New Brunswick, where it's predominantly French. So I know the bits and pieces, this and that. Counting. I can ask for directions. I can ask where's the bathroom. I can ask for but can I speak it fluently? No, hell no. But I really don't care about it either. I would re-enlist yesterday if they would take me. Not me. I've said it. I've said it a million times. Uh, I've said it a million times that I wish that one of the true. I don't have any regrets, and one of the one regret that I absolutely truly do have is the fact that I never served my country. Now that would have been back again in the 1980s, late 1980s. Would I do it today? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I would have absolutely zero faith or trust in the people making the decisions at the top level. as to what and where they're going to deploy and how they're going to use that deployment. I would not do it. And I think it would even be worse for anybody in the US. Vinegar has 0 calories. Didn't know that. Vinegar is a natural blood thinner. I did know that. That doesn't mean I'm going to drink it, though. Heinz is owned by BlackRock. You know what? Go look up BlackRock and see what else they own. Heinz is nothing about what BlackRock owns. Okay? Absolutely nothing. Go look it up. It's staggering. It's bad because I have a hyper sense of smell. I don't have a hyper sense of smell, so I'm okay with that. Je ne parle pas français, tu parles anglais. That's basically he's saying, I don't speak French. Do you speak English? That's what a burger. That's why what a burger sucks owns by a Canadian. In-N-Out, real American food. In-N-Out burger is real American food. I don't know what a burger. Okay, what you're saying is what a burger sucks. I don't know. Does it? You know what? I don't eat Whataburger, right? I don't eat any of that kind of shit. If I want a really good hamburger, I'll buy the lean ground beef out here in Alberta, and I'll make it myself and put it on the barbecue. Um, and I'll be honest with you as well that I mentioned this the other day and yesterday that I'm not eating ground beef. We're not eating ground beef in this house anymore, even though we live in Alberta. We are on a bison kick, right? Lean ground bison. Oh my God, man. Burgers, lasagnas, meatloafs, meat sauces, fucking anything that you do with ground beef. Hamburger helper. Hamburger helper. I have not had a bison hamburger helper, but guess what? It just happens that Denby TR2 said that I love hamburger helper. Guess what we're doing for dinner tonight? Hamburger helper, but we're doing it with bison. And Victoria just found out now what she's eating for dinner tonight. So In-N-Out goes out as soon as it comes in. Again, you know what? I don't. Brian, how about beef stroganoff but with bison? I would try that. You know what? It would work. You can do it. You can do it. I love the bison. There's 0 fat. No grease. Stephanie, when you fry up bison like you do, say, for like ground beef, and you're frying it up, say you're making beef stroganoff. Well, beef stroganoff usually is done with strips, or it can be done with strips of sirloin, but you can do it with strips of bison. But let's just say you're cooking up, you're making a meat sauce, and you grind, you put your ground beef in the pan or the pot, and you start cooking that up. Bison, you will cook an entire pound or 2-pound piece of bison, and you will probably get about a shot glass worth of oil and grease out of that. It is fantastic. The smell is fantastic, and the taste is totally something that you'll fall in love with, depending on what you're making. And like I said, we use it for everything now. Shannon thinks meat rules. Yeah, I totally understand that. And if anybody wants to know what the hell she's talking about, go check out her channel. She did a live. She did a live on Sunday. I think she just did a live on Sunday, and she discusses her dietary. What is it, Shannon? Like your regiment, your menu, your diet, the way you eat and keep yourself healthy in your truck. Shannon's a full blown owner operator. She got a couple of trucks. She drives one herself, and she's out there fucking killing it. Like she just said, she just picked up in Tennessee. She's going over to Georgia. She's driving the pretty penny over there. But she's also doing things for herself and her health and her body and her finances, and she has a lot of that she shares. Go check out if you didn't see her live on Sunday, it's worth the replay. I think her live was maybe a couple of hours, 2 hours. So if you've got a 2-hour drive, you got nothing to do today, check out Shannon Thomas Trucking. I remember you saying bison the other day. I don't eat bison, but that's why I mentioned it to you. Oh, you should try it. You should absolutely try it. I have not had any red meat since January, and my body craves it. Oh, Karen, I'd be going crazy. No red meat since no. Like I'm eating red meat weekly, right? Weekly. I can't say that I'm eating it regularly like I'm eating like every single day, but I'm probably eating red meat like bison or some type of red meat at least twice a week, maybe 3 times a week, depending on what I'm doing. I'm gonna try bison meat now. Now I don't know how readily available it is in the U.S. It's probably available. You shouldn't have a problem getting it. Um, where the fuck do we get our actually? Believe it or not, we get it from Costco. We get it from Costco. So obviously you guys got fucking Costco down there. You know, go check it out. Go try it. You can buy. I think Costco sells it in packs of 3, and it's like 1 pound each. Each one of these blocks is a pound. Maybe no, maybe it's about 2 pounds. It's 2 kilograms. 2.0, whatever. Fuck, I'm not doing the math. But it's you can get it at Costco. It's good. It's kosher. Is the Canadian way of saying American buffalo? Pretty much. Pretty much. I think bisons are actually a little bit bigger than buffalo. Excuse me. Self-care is very important, especially as a truck driver. I would assume health-wise, I would want to get out of there and walk as much as I can. And you know what? That you would think you would, and it makes sense. It does. It makes sense. It makes common sense. It's common sense that you would think that, okay, you got a 30-minute break. You've been in that truck for 4 or 5 hours nonstop. All you've been looking at is white lines and picket fences and fucking vehicles. And for 5 hours, you're 4 hours, 5 hours, whatever. You want to get out of that truck. And most guys get out, they pull into the rest area, they pull into the truck stop. First thing they do, pull the brakes, grab their phone, text their girlfriend, text their wife, or text their girlfriend, then their wife, or then their wife, then their girl, whatever. They'll look at YouTube videos. They're looking down at the e-log. Okay, I got 22 minutes left. Okay, I got 19, whatever. As soon as that e-log says go, into gear you go. You might get out of the truck and go in and take a leak. Other than that, you would think you would want to for health reasons, but we just don't. We don't. Matt Erickson, bison is not that expensive. It's a little bit more than ground beef, but it goes a lot farther. You would think about this, okay? Just think about this. Let's say we're going to use 2 pounds. Okay, 2 pounds example. So we got 2 pounds of bison, and then you've got 2 pounds of ground beef. After you fry it up, you've still got probably 1 7/8 pounds of bison. You might have 1 1/4 pound of ground beef. Most of that ground beef, even the extra lean, is whoop, off it goes. Bison doesn't have that. So when you're making something, you're getting, yes, you may pay a few more dollars for it at the till, right? Or maybe not even dollars, maybe a few more cents per pound at the till, but it's going to take you much farther. We do it. We'll do meatloaf. We'll do, like I said, meat sauces. We'll do whatever with bison. And then we've got leftovers. We can either freeze it or we can eat it the next day for lunch or whatever. Whereas if I had, say, for example, just ground beef, it wouldn't last that long. It wouldn't. You'd eat your dinner and that would be it. As Crag Rat's sitting here chowing down, I wonder how much meat is thrown out of a Costco daily. The number is probably staggering stuff. Really, it's probably a staggering number. Bison is great. Checker 6, I agree. It is. Your glasses look cool. My glasses are a mess right now. They don't have anti-glare, so you guys are catching the inside. Like you're catching all these monitors here. Sorry. You know what? Working on it. We'll get there. What's currently the cheapest meat? Fuck if I know. I know I don't eat lamb, but lamb's not cheap. Pork, I would probably think pork is possibly the cheapest. I think it's now cheaper than chicken. Chicken used to be, everybody used to think that, chicken at one point was the cheapest meat to buy. I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I don't know. I don't examine the prices of, okay, if I want chicken breast, we just buy chicken breast. If I want bison, we buy bison. If we want pork or beef or like beef or steak or anything, we just buy it. Yes, I look at the price of it, but I don't look at what's the cheapest. I'm going to stick to chicken because I don't want to spend the money on beef. No, we just buy what we buy. I love corned beef, but it's become stupidly expensive. I love corned beef too. I love Montreal smoked meat. Anybody who's ever been, you guys have said that you've been up to Quebec. Um, you didn't like the poutine. I guarantee you, you didn't go to Druxy's and you didn't try on St. Catherine Street. You go to Druxy's and you try that Montreal smoked meat sandwich. I promise you, if you are one of those guys and you've done that, you'd still be there. I promise you'd still be there eating it. It is that good. Rabbit meat is good, but don't eat it all the time. It's too lean. I've had it a couple of times. Believe it or not, my grandmother from England, she used to prepare it for us as kids. They had some farmland, so in the summers we'd go up and spend time on the land and in the farm and shit like that. And my grandfather, he'd take us out. We'd all be armed with our little teeny 22s, and we'd go rabbit hunting, groundhog, gopher, fuck whatever. Now we never ever brought back the groundhogs and gophers, but the rabbits, my grandfather would gather them up, bring them back. My grandmother knew how to skin them properly, prepare them properly, and there was rabbit stew. There would be skewers, like rabbit skewers, like pieces of rabbit meat. You put it on a skewer, then a piece of vegetable like pepper or something, mushroom, then another piece of rabbit, then da da da. I've had all that kind of stuff. I didn't mind rabbit. I didn't find that it was that great. Um, it's very lean. It is lean, like Buck says. It is. You know, it's just one of those things. I haven't had a chance. And it's something I really do. Add chicken and pork used to be the cheapest, man. It's not anymore. Again, I couldn't tell you. Honestly, I couldn't tell you what the cheapest meat is out there these days. You follow any sports? Not really. Not really. I used to be a huge UFC follower. And then it just started to get stupid, right? It did. It started to get ridiculous and stupid. I stopped following it religiously when George St. Pierre fought Bisping for the middleweight title, right? George, I guess, technically came out of retirement, if he was, and he fought Michael Bisping for the middleweight title and won. That was the very last like serious look I was involved in watching or following the UFC. Now, don't get me wrong, I watched and I kind of, just kind of followed along the Conor McGregor experience, if you want to call it that. I kind of did that, but I didn't get back. And like, even today, I couldn't name any of these guys in the UFC. Same with like, I like the Toronto Maple Leafs, but I can't really name any of the players really. And I know that they're in the playoffs, but they're or not the playoffs. Sorry, and we're talking about the Blue Jays as well. The Blue Jays are in the playoffs with the New York Yankees, so I'm kind of like a bandwagon jumper, right? I'll watch the Blue Jays the odd game here and there during the summer. But if they make the playoffs, okay, then they make the finals, and they make the World Series. Yes, I'm going to be wearing my Blue Jay shirt, my Blue Jay hat, my Blue Jay sneakers, my Blue Jays underwear. I will be a bandwagon jumper, and then at the very end, it will all go away, and then I won't wear it again for 10 years. So, Dewana Gilliam, good to see you. Good to see you. Did I see you already today? I don't think I did. I didn't pop in on Ernie, so chances are that's where I would have seen you. I did not. I did not see. I don't know if Ernie's still live or not. I know he went. I got the notification, but I think I was already live, or I was just going live when Ernie went. But it's always a pleasure to see you. How's my boy? Is he doing all right? How's he doing at school there? Is he blowing through school? He's an absolute lady killer, eh? Her boy Marshall, absolute lady killer. This kid is just absolute. He's the funniest, cutest, most awesome kid you've ever seen. He's in school and he's just an absolute lady killer. Love him. Yeah, true enough, but not everybody has the luxury to trap their own meat. No, I get you. I get you. I live in the city, and the only thing around me are squirrels, raccoons, and stray cats. Well, I'd stay off the raccoons. Squirrels, you might be all right on, but you can't live on it. I remember St. Pierre. He was one of my faves back then. Yeah, Stephanie, GSP was probably he is just I don't know. I'm gonna say that he's in the top 3 of the greatest of all time. My opinion is that John Jones is still the greatest. He's the GOAT for UFC, but George St. Pierre is in the top 3. UFC has become very boring with all the Dagestans and their boring ass ground control game. Well, Matt, I noticed that's a huge thing. Of course, with when they were what's his name? What the hell's his name? You probably know better than I do. Matt, that who was it that was originally fighting McGregor and tuned him up? What the hell was that? And he was fantastic. He was phenomenal. But again, you're right. It was all ground game, right? And McGregor, Khabib, thank you, Matt, Khabib, and McGregor had no ground game. He had a ground game, but not to the level that Khabib or those guys coming from over there. All of them are ground solid. They've got striking. Don't get me wrong; they can strike and they can stand, but they'd rather get you on the ground, and then they're just going to literally dismantle you. And they did that. You see, Khabib, he had McGregor on the ground, and he was talking to him, daring him, right? McGregor had made comments like during the press, something about the family or something like that. And Khabib has actually got him down on the ground. Up, I think McGregor's back and his shoulder part were up against the fence. And Khabib just literally was just fucking with him, toying with him and saying, yo, you just say that now. Blah, 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 blah. Say that. I loved it. I loved it. Those guys, their ground and pound is absolutely fucking phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Haha, Blue Jays underwear. Hey, we got him. Stephanie, we got him. Marshall is on fall break right now. This week. He loves being a senior. Yeah, I bet you. I bet you the rest of them love having him as a senior. Love Marshall. Awesome kid. Bacon is the cheapest meat. Not here. Checker 6. I don't know where you're at. Yeah, it's $7.99 a pound in PA. Yeah, well, we don't sell it by the pound; it's by the kilogram or by the gram. And I can tell you right now, you're not getting a pound, and you are around $7 or $8 for what we get for bacon. It is not the cheapest. You're better off going to buying the whole side of a pig, right? Go buy a whole half cow or a whole half pig and make your and get your own bacon made. Yes, but that is such an alphabet way to fight. Get on your feet like a real man. Well, you know what? It's not how you fight, it's if you win. Fighting is about winning. Yeah, these guys are, they want to put on a good show and they want to entertain, but at the end of the day, they want a W. They want a W. And if I know what your weakness is, why am I going to fight? If I know that you're strong standing up and I've got a better ground game, why do I want to fucking toy around with you and take a chance of, like, McGregor does have one shot knockout power. Why would I play with that? Right? If I'm Khabib and I know that all I have to do is get you to the ground and I'm going to out wrestle the shit out of you and beat you up, I'm going to beat you up from your eyebrows to your fucking balls, right? And I'm going to pound everything in between there. Why wouldn't I do it? I'm going to do it. I'm going to get the win. However, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to. Khabib does no intention of going out there and toying around and taking a shot and taking a chance of getting knocked out with McGregor. If he can get him on the ground and beat the shit out of him, which is exactly what he did, pounded the piss right out of him. Right? McGregor didn't know what fucking hit him. By the time that fight was over, I guarantee you, 2 days later, he was still walking around holding his guts and holding himself like this. He didn't know what the hell hit him. I don't mind. I don't mind ground game. It's a ground and pound, but not just riding the guy. No, no, you're right, Matt. There's a difference, right? But you're not going to see Khabib do any holding. You're not going to watch like guys like back in the day, Randy Couture, where he would just fucking pin you to the fence and hold you there, and then Roman Greco wrestle the shit out of you with dirty shots and stomps and knees and shit like that. I don't want to see. Or even get you onto the ground. And basically, he's holding you down for as much and taking the odd shot here and there. That I don't want to see. But what I want to see is guys like Khabib and all of those guys coming from that region over there, that are trained to fight and ground and pound, because they don't. Right? If it's a championship fight, it's a 5-minute round. And I can tell you right now, fucking Khabib will fucking go for 5 minutes once he gets you down there. Your ribs are going to be sore. Your stomach's going to be sore. Your chest is going to be sore. And if you're lucky enough not to take too many headshots, your brain's going to be fucking not going to be too bad, but it's probably going to be sore too. John Mitch, you bald under the hat? You bald boy? Baldy? Keep going, John. You're doing great. Contribute to the conversation. That's a really good contribution. Thank you, John Mitch, for your contribution to the conversation, which we were talking about. You now got your name on the screen, and I read your comments, and you are, beating your dick feverishly in the basement at your grandma's house because I just said your name, and you're going, hoo, look at that. Good for you. Thanks for coming out, John Mitch. Best era to me was the Chuck Liddell era and Pride Fight. Well, you know what? That was always good. It was exciting because they didn't have so much. They didn't have so much for the weight classes back in those days. Like when the UFC first started and Pride first started, like you'd see guys coming out in judo gis or karate gis, and they were fighting a guy that was like 300 pounds, right? And he weighed 190 pounds. That was something else, right? My favorite era was Matt Serra, Matt Hughes, GSP, Johnny Big Rig, all of those for the middleweights, the heavyweights, and that whole era. So it would have been what the mid to late 2000s, like 20. I don't know. Fuck, it's been so long since I've seen good and since I paid attention. But for me, I thought the most exciting, I thought the most exciting weight class was the not the middleweight, sorry, the welterweights. That was where George was fighting. So you had George, like I said, when George fought Matt Serra, lost, came back and won. Fought Matt Hughes, lost, came back and won. Fought Johnny. Although that wasn't a fair, it was a fair fight, but Johnny didn't make weight. That whole genre or that whole weight class in there carried the UFC for years. Anderson Silva was up in the middleweights and he was carrying it up there, right? You had Anderson Silva in the middleweights. You had Forrest Griffin. You had Stephan Bonner. You had the Forrest Griffin, Stephan Bonner fight is still legendary. Dude, if I was scrolling and that fight was on and the replay was on and it was just starting, Matt, I will sit there and watch that fight all day long. I've seen it 100 times. We know how it ends. I would sit and watch it again. That fight was that good. And that was the lottery win that Dana and the brothers needed at that time to get the UFC. That fight put them on the map. It gave them the money they needed. Absolutely. So yeah, you were enjoying the same era. Yeah, and the fight was insane. It was two guys. Woo! Yeah, what do you say? Come on out. Break it out. Come on. Atta girl. Love you, mama. Oh, one more time. Atta girl. There we go. That fight was literally two guys that were fighting for a contract. So they were fighting for their lives and they put it out and they put their lives on the line for that fight. And that fight was so good that it literally, I think Joe Rogan he's made comments about that fight at times where literally there was people watching that fight because I think it was on Spike TV or something like that. It wasn't even fucking big. And people were phoning their friends going, you got to see this fight. And the numbers just absolutely blew through the roof. Love that fight. I'll watch that fight all day long. You want to watch the fight? Get in there and poop. There's no way you can meow and poop at the same time. She's going to go into the litter box, have her little have her little poop. She's not saying nothing because she's in there now, but I promise you, she's going to walk in out of that litter box, and from her litter box all the way back to her bed, she's going to mouth off at me. I guarantee you. When I was in Brazil, we went to see some live MMA fights. They were some tough guys. You know what? They really, really were. They had the UFC in Toronto at the Sky Dome, or the Rogers Center is now called. Um, and I think at that time they've had it there twice. They've had it in Montreal, and as badly as I wanted to go, I could not part with the money for the ticket prices they were asking. The ticket prices were off the hook ridiculous. The price of what they were, and this is, we're talking for nosebleeds. Like, you're sitting like a mile away from the ring. It's insane. So I've never seen a live one. You know, don't get me wrong. You hand me a lottery winning, I'll probably go back and I'll check out some UFC fights. But no, I never saw one. Do you still have your dog? Yeah, he's actually right there, just down the hallway. Um, uh, doing what a 14-year-old dog does best. He's laying there, sound asleep, and enjoying a good life. Yeah, it's a shame. Bonner got addicted to drugs and ended up taking his life. Well, think about this, Matt. Even you could tell. Okay, I had to think about this because I don't want to disgrace the man or soil his name by any means. She does. But Stephan Bonner, you could tell before the fight, because they had the show, right? Before the fight, you could tell by talking to him and looking at him, he wasn't right. He wasn't right. There was some things that were, you knew the elevator didn't quite go all the way to the top with Stephan Bonner. Now, don't get me wrong, put up a great fight. Forrest Griffin, the pair of them pounded the living shit out of each other. Great fight. But then following that fight, right? What was his handle? What was his nickname? Stephan Bonner was oh, it was a pretty good, but it was also, somebody's going to give it to me. Matt, give it to me. What was Stephan Bonner's his handle or his name, Vanderlei Silva was the axe murderer, blah 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 blah. What was Stephan Bonner's? It had something to do with being crazy or something like that. And you know what? Honestly, the American Psycho. There you go. What does that tell you? Right there, right? So you knew that before that fight with Griffin, you knew maybe the marbles were rattling a little too much. After that fight with Griffin, the American Psycho, he really didn't. He got the contract. They both got that UFC contract. I don't know if they both got $1 million, but they both got the contract. They both da. But after that fight, he really didn't do jack shit. He really didn't impress. He may have won a couple, but he lost more than he won. And you could tell that the man's marbles, or the man's brains upstairs, there was something. And the American Psycho, he was. He was. Was it inevitable he ended up with a drug habit? Well, no, probably not. There's lots of reasons why you end up with drug habits. But you take a guy like that, who's already a little shady on the brainy, he's going to have issues. And you think about this. Who was it? It wasn't Rogan, and it wasn't Rogan, and it wasn't what's his face. They added up all the shots that landed in that fight, and they added them up throughout all the entire rounds, because there was no knockout. It went the distance, and they added up all of Bonner's shots that landed on Griffin, and all the shots that Griffin threw that landed. Never mind the ones that fucking missed, right? Because there was probably just as many flailing shots that missed than was a hit. Are you kidding me? Then I can't remember what the number was, but it was like a number that's never been seen again in the UFC. The UFC have never had a single fight where that many shots were thrown. The ones we watched were free expedition fights. There you go. Not the sharpest crayon, not the brightest crayon on the box. You mean the sharpest crayon on the box, or not the brightest light bulb in the pack? No, Stephan Bonner, no, he wasn't. But then look at Forrest Griffin. Come on, man. Like, yeah, he had a little more success after that fight than Stephen Bonner did. But have you ever listened to Forrest Griffin today talk? I just had a more intelligent conversation with my cat, than you could probably get out of fucking Forrest Griffin right now. And the last I checked, from what I understood, he's working for the UFC. He's working behind the scenes, training, whatever, helping, whatever he's doing. But I'm telling you right now, you are not going to get a very fucking great conversation. You're not going to get a great conversation out of that guy. Like I said, I just had a more intelligent conversation with my cat than you'll get out of Forrest Griffin. Good fighter, fought beyond his years. He should have not fought as long as he did, because that fight with Anderson Silva, that was embarrassing, right? If that was, for example, if he's got kids or a wife and they're watching that fight, would you want anybody see you fighting like that and having your ass handed to you so easily? Anderson Silva, I don't even think he had to wake up that morning. He fought that fight in his sleep, for Christ's sake. Tito Ortiz takes the cake for the most retarded intelligence-wise. There's a few of them, right? There's a few of them. I'll agree with you, Matt, that Tito Ortiz, again, not the sharpest, but he has made some pretty smart business decisions. He's made some bad choices. Marrying a porn star and having kids with a porn star probably wasn't his greatest. But he did. I don't know if you know this, but I don't know if he did go back and what was it? Jenna Jameson, wasn't it? He fought for custody of his kids and won. Right? He got his kids and he's raising the kids. And any man that does that has got to have something up here, and he's got a good heart. He's got a good heart. Is he the smartest guy in the world? And he talking to him in a conversation? Probably not. But then you know what? Fuck, who's to say that I am? Who's to say that I am? Everybody's got a different level of what they think is intelligent and what they think is stupid, and everybody's got one. Am I the smartest guy in the room? Fuck no. It doesn't matter how smart you think you are. There's always somebody that's smarter. Just like there's always a bigger bear. There's always somebody that's smarter. It's when you walk around thinking that you're the smartest of and there's nobody smarter, and you think that you're the shit. That's when you get your ass handed to you. That's when you bring in ignorance. Stephen Bonner, no, he wasn't that bright. Anybody can see that. Same as you though, Lishan. What's the same as me? I'm not that smart. Believe me, dude. I never claimed to be smart. I never claimed to be overly intelligent. I just have a gift of being able to sit in front of here and jabber at you. That's all. You want to talk about trucks or trucking or the trucking business. I've got a lot of experience with that. And even then, I don't know all the answers for that. So like I've said, if I don't have an answer for something, I probably know somebody who does. I can get you the answer. But in general life, you know what? I know a little bit about a lot. I don't know a lot about one thing. And for me, that's probably the best way and the safest way to live. Any of the fighters that fight reckless all become punch drunk. Yeah, that fight that Forrest Griffin fought with Anderson Silva, yeah, that was one of them. That was embarrassing. That was downright humiliating. He mailed that in. That was. I'm going in. I'm going to fight my 5 rounds, and I'm going to get my paycheck. That's what that was with Forrest Griffin on that fight. He mailed that in. He probably made $1 million on that fight. I don't know. I'm just saying probably. I don't know what the fuck he made, what he didn't. Anyway, you know what? We're doing all right here today. We've been going 3 hours, 13 minutes. Got some really good comments. Again. Hey, Matt, I don't think I've seen you before. I don't know if I've seen you before, but do me a favor. I don't regularly ask people to subscribe to my channel. I usually ask you guys to hit the like button. But Matt, hit the subscribe. I'd love to have you back. Love your comments. Love what you're saying. You're intelligent, fairly intelligent, I guess, for whatever level of intelligence we can talk about. But I've enjoyed talking to you. I've enjoyed what you've been saying. I agree with some of what you say. I disagree with some of what you say, and that's all cool. We can part ways and go, yeah, we can agree to disagree. But it's been really good seeing you here. Thanks. I'd love to have you back. Keep coming back in here. Did you drive throughout North America or just Canada? No, North America, Canada and the US. Canada, the US, was simple as that. I was, for most of my trucking career, I was based out of Ontario, Canada. So probably like the GTA, Greater Toronto area. Toronto, basically between Toronto and Montreal is where I was based out of. And I was a US, Canada to US, offload US, reload US, come back into Canada, and then do it again. So yeah, I've seen all 48 states. I've been coast to coast in the US, put my foot in both the Atlantic and the Pacific and the Gulf. I've done all of that. Same with Canada, back and forth. I've seen all the provinces. I haven't. But funny enough, I haven't seen the territories. I haven't been to the territories. And obviously, I haven't been to Alaska in a truck. I'd like to, or I would have liked to have, but I didn't get that chance. So anyway, you're subscribed. I appreciate that. Crag Rat, sticky pudding. Who's eating sticky pudding? You son of a bitch. What to have for dessert? Apple turnover and ice cream, or sticky toffee pudding and custard? That's a tough one. I'd go with the sticky pudding and custard, man. I would, obviously. Okay, I got a sneeze coming on and I'm not doing it here. Okay, Crag Rat, good talking to you. Steph, thanks for coming on. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for coming by. Loved having you. Crag Rat, obviously my friend. Thanks for being here. Matt, always great to see you. Or it will always be great to see you. It was great to have you here. Thanks, man. You drive I-65 through Gary, Indiana. I live in that region in the Northwest. Gary, Indiana, for the most of the 2000, from 2010 to probably 2000 and what, 21, 22. Gary was the murder capital of the United States. I don't know if you realize that. And the truck stops, the two major truck stops, right? There was the big Petro, and then there was a Love's right on 65 when you come south off of 90. You knew it wasn't a good idea to stop anywhere where they have more security guards driving around in pickups than there are truck parking spots. So yeah, I believe me, I know I-65 very, very well. Take 60. We used to deliver into Chicago, grab 65 south down to Columbus, or down to Louisville, and reload and all that shit. That's part of the country I know really, really well. I did my very, very best not to stay at either of those truck stops on 65 going south. Anywho, fuckers, we'll talk to you tomorrow. Crag Rat, Quinn, good to see you, man. I can't believe you're still here. You just been sitting there listening in the background, you creepy little bastard. Jesus. I do like turnovers and ice cream. Okay, I got to stop reading your comments. You guys knock this shit off. I got to go. I'm going to read the last one. Yeah, I don't live in Gary, but near it, and I know it was the murder capital, just gang shit. Yeah, well, yeah. You know, when you're rolling into the Petro, which I think was the bigger of the two truck stops, and you're rolling in there, and all you see is security guy in car, security guy in truck, pickup truck, security guy, security guy, security guy. You walk into the truck stop, there's security walking around. You might get, as a new driver, if you're a new driver and you see that, you might want to maybe see if you got enough logbook hours to make it another 40, 50. I think there's a J. There's either a pilot or a J, 25 or 30 miles farther south down 65. That may get you out of the Gary, Indiana area. But yeah, if you're going to sit in Gary, seatbelt your doors closed, lock them, and sleep with the blankets up. So you sleep with the blankets like this. Anyway, that's my advice to you. You guys, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Good stream.